like I've not felt before. I can't trust myself. I need you to make it turn. I know. Will you follow me when the sky starts to change? Yeah, we won't be afraid. We'll never be the same again. Will you follow me? We won't leave it to chance. We can't write our romance. We'll never be the same again. I could keep the light from turning into darkness. You'd be my escape. While we've been so easy to unfold, future might seem every spot we're getting close. Will you follow me when the sky starts to change? Yeah, we won't be afraid. We'll never be the same again. Will you follow me? We won't leave it to chance. We can't write our romance. We'll never be the same again. Will you follow me when the sky starts to change? Yeah, we won't be afraid. We'll never be the same again. Will you follow me when the sky starts to change? Yeah, we won't be afraid. We'll never be the same again. Will you follow me? We won't leave it to chance. We can't write our romance. We'll never be the same
You're streaming with the Fantasy Follow. It's week 9 of fantasy football. We're set to go with a special Thursday pregame show on the Fantasy Follow, and it starts right now. It's a big day of football. You can do this. Make those good decisions. There's never a better time than this week. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Follow. This is a special TFF Live Thursday pregame show. Not our normal show tonight, but we thought we would show getting you ready for the first game of Week 9. We got the Jets and the Colts set to start in just under an hour. We're kicking off our Week 9 fantasy football action. We're glad to have you with us. As always, we are here for your live chats all show long, answering your fantasy football questions. As well, if you're watching on replay, please feel free to drop us a comment in the comments section below. We'd love to hear your thoughts, but let's get right into it. We start out by talking about some of the topics for Week 9, players to watch. Certainly, there are some players expected to be out this week in addition to your standard buys that certainly are impact the fantasy football season at this point. Of course, Derrick Henry, the biggest news. Derrick Henry likely to be out for the rest of the season. It looks like 6 to 10 weeks for the Tennessee Titans, so that is a loss for those of you, as I did, who had Derrick Henry on rosters in your fantasy football leagues. So Derrick Henry, the top name that's out, but we're also looking at the possible return this week of Christian McCaffrey. He is scheduled to return from IR. I am fairly hesitant on whether or not he actually will make his way back onto the field this week based on what we've seen in recent times when they've expected McCaffrey to possibly be back. McCaffrey, a player to watch this week for the Carolina Panthers. Michael Thomas from the New Orleans Saints. We talked a little bit about Thomas, who has announced that he is going to be out now for the remainder of the season. So if you were sitting on Michael Thomas all year waiting for him to be back, it's not going to help you out. In addition, Jameis Winston, of course, lost for the New Orleans Saints at the quarterback spot as well. Some interesting news out of Cleveland with Odell Beckham going on right now. We'll see how that plays out this week. Not that Odell Beckham was extremely fantasy relevant, but perhaps there are some things going on. We saw Deshaun Jackson be released from the Rams. Who knows if he gets picked up by another team here that might be fantasy relevant. Of course, we talk about Aaron Rodgers with the protocol issues there in Green Bay. It does look like Devontae Adams is expected to be back, but now without Aaron Rodgers in that game against Kansas City this week. So a lot of storylines to follow as we look towards week 9. We're here with you for the start of tonight's action, the Thursday night game, again, the Jets and the Colts. Some players to watch. We'll talk about that in a little while, but let's get it started with a couple of early chats that I see here. Let's go ahead and start off with Ilias Giftopoulos, one of our regulars, is here. Welcome back, Ilias. Glad to have you on tonight's stream. You say, should I trade DeAndre Swift to get Jamar Chase in PPR? I have good running back depth. Well, as you know, if you watched several of the streams, which I know you have, Ilias, Jamar Chase is a player that I've been really high on this season. So I certainly think if you have running back depth and you need help at the wide receiver spot, Chase is a great player to target. What I will do for you here is I will look up the coming schedule for both of these players to kind of try to give you some additional information on either of these two guys. Of course, the matchups play a part here as we get, especially towards playoff time. You're wanting to, especially if you're going out to trade for a player, you want to make sure that you're trading for a player that's going to serve you well once you get towards the playoffs part of your season. So I'm calling up Jamar on my other screen here and just looking at his run of games. The run of games, the matchup-wise, does not look great right now. There are actually no games in the green for the rest of the way here for Jamar Chase. When we talk about green and red on Yahoo, obviously, if you play on Yahoo, games that are listed in green simply mean that the opponents are giving up good fantasy matchups, top 10, and in red is bottom 10. So currently, for the rest of this season here, there are 4 games in the red in the next up through week 17 for Chase. No games in the green. And, of course, the bye week in week 10. Now, that being said, I feel like Jamar Chase is an every week start at this point. I feel like he's proven himself to be the caliber player that can overcome bad matchups. So that is not necessarily going to scare me away from a Jamar Chase, in terms of players that you might have the option to go out there and get. If I compare that to DeAndre Swift and take a look at his matchups as we look towards the rest of the season here, hopefully that will give us a little bit of a comparison here. I do think this will be a very fair deal on both sides if you were to make this deal. Swift, let's see, by this week, and let's see, we have 8 games remaining looking through week 17, which we assume is your fantasy playoffs for 15, 16, 17 this year. 3 games in red out of those 8. 2 games in green out of those 8, and those 2 games in particular are weeks 16 and 17, so most likely your fantasy football semifinals and championship. So that does bode well for DeAndre Swift in terms of his matchups being a little bit better. But again, if you have good depth already at running back, and if you're looking to target a wide receiver who I do feel Jamar Chase is going to continue to be one of the top wide receivers throughout the rest of this season. If you want to look at his numbers overall, just to compare the two of them, what they've done so far, let's take a look at that on my other screen here. Jamar Chase is currently sitting at wide receiver 2. I'm sorry, this is in a standard. Let me put this in PPR because I do like to reference everything in PPR terms, assuming that most of you do play in that sort of league. Jamar Chase is currently wide receiver 3 for the season. So obviously he has played great so far. On the other side of the ball there, DeAndre Swift currently running back 4. So certainly Swift's just as worthy. I think you can definitely make this trade. Like I said, I think it's fair on both sides. I do expect Chase to be able to overcome any potential bad matchups, which, like I said, if you look at the matchups, it's not quite as good for Chase as it is for Swift, especially looking at the fact that you have those 2 green matchups in weeks 16 and 17. So could that play a role in your fantasy football playoffs, or are you looking to get to those playoffs and need a little bit of help moving up before that point? So I think those are the questions that you ask. I think certainly unless you're at the point of this team where you're like undefeated and running away with things and you need that help at wide receiver, I think Jamar Chase is a great player for the rest of the season. He's proven that already, and I really like that offense in Cincinnati. So, yeah, I think it's a very fair deal, Elias, and I think you're getting a great player back if you can make this trade. And I also think it's very fair for the player that you're offering this trade to as well, which is an important part of making these trades as well. It's very difficult, especially if you're in a competitive league, to make deals that are just one-sided here. So, a team that potentially needs running back help, you're sending them a great player who's played well all season, and you're getting back a great wide receiver in return. So I think this is a very fair deal, Elias, and I think you can definitely make this move and bolster your roster for the rest of the season. Thank you for the chat, Elias, one of our regulars. Welcome back, and glad to see you with us again this week. Take a look at the next chat here from Brock Goose. I'm going to say Goose. I feel like you've been with us before, but if you're not, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. You say, sup, fellas? I'm 7-1. Congratulations on that. 10-team, 2 flex PPR. Lineup is Brady, Eck, Najee, Devontae, Debo, Fant, God, Amari, Monty on IR. Trade, that's Austin Eckler. It took me a minute to figure out Eck. Austin Eckler, I got you there, Brock. Trade Amari or Zach Moss for Terry McLaurin or Godwin for Keenan. Interesting questions here. This Terry McLaurin thing, I think is going to be a weird week in terms of offers involving Terry McLaurin across the board. I know I've been involved in a couple already myself in my own leagues. The fact that they're on bye and the fact that they have, let's say, been underperforming with Taylor Heineke of recent makes this, I think, a good buy low candidate, because I do think that Terry McLaurin is still a top tier player, and I do think that Ryan Fitzpatrick will be on his way back shortly. So I think you could definitely make an attempt to get a Terry McLaurin on a buy low offer at this point. The other question that you have there between Godwin and Keenan Allen, I think that feels like a little bit of a move to me. Again, Keenan Allen might be a little bit of a buy low because we do expect better things than he's perhaps had so far this season. Keenan Allen currently wide receiver 25 for the year. Godwin currently wide receiver 7. I think either one of those players continues to be, especially in PPR leagues, very productive. It feels like a little bit of a lateral move to me. I kind of like the other side, the Amari Cooper or Zach. I'm assuming you're saying Zach Moss here for Terry McLaurin. I think for sure, especially, let's take a look at your lineup again. Your running backs here, Eckler and Najee, very solid there already. Montgomery, when he's back on IR, means that if you have a Zach Moss, he's probably expendable to you. And I do think that your Terry McLaurin gives you a potential upgrade. It would be, you're pretty stacked here. You've got Devontae and Debo who've been playing great for you all year long. Debo currently wide receiver 4, Devontae wide receiver 6. They're probably going to be locked and loaded for you every week in your lineup. You're looking at flex options between Godwin, Amari, and potentially Terry McLaurin if you're able to make that deal. I think there are several deals that you can make there without negatively impacting your team in the least. Clearly, the biggest upgrade would be if it was Moss that you were able to bring for Terry McLaurin. I don't simply know if that's enough of an offer to get that back. And when it's a straight wide receiver for wide receiver or running back for running back, I feel like those are tougher trades to make. So I think sometimes you have the better option to be able to get a running back trade for a wide receiver back, perhaps, is if Zach Moss for Terry McLaurin. And hit me up, Brock, if I'm not looking at this the right way, that is Zach Moss that you're talking about there. But if you're not able to get a straight 1-for-1 with Moss for Terry, then the question is, would you be willing to go Mari and Moss for McLaurin? And is that enough back for you to make this a trade worth doing for your side of things? Or at that point, are you giving up too much? I might consider possibly making it a 2-for-2 if you went that way. Amari and Moss for McLaurin and somebody else. Don't know who that would be. Perhaps another tight end to back up. I do see, obviously Noah Fant not expected to play this week. So potentially something you could fill in that slot for this week and get you through the win. But those are kind of my thoughts on that. I think you definitely could go either way. I think the fact that you're 7-1, and I do see your follow-up here says, yup, Amari and Moss. That's kind of what I was thinking there. I don't think that you're in a bad spot with any of these players that you have on your lineup right now. I don't see really any holes. Like I said, the Godwin for Keenan, I think, is a little bit of a ladder. I like Keenan Allen a whole lot, but obviously Chris Godwin's been playing great, and you've got the stack with Brady if you keep Godwin, whereas you wouldn't with Allen. So I think that's probably in your favor to keep it that way. If anything there, might think about trying to shoot for that Terry McLaurin and potentially see if you can get back, if you simply like McLaurin better than Cooper. Again, Cooper, as I look on my other screen, currently wide receiver 19. McLaurin currently wide receiver 15. Target-wise, Terry McLaurin is one of the top targeted players in the league. I know I was looking at this by targets earlier today just for my own purposes, and I'm trying to see if I can organize this real quick by targets. It's not letting me do so. But McLaurin right now, 76 targets for the year. I believe he was in the top 5. Kupp and Hill both with 90 as I'm looking at this screen. DJ Moore with 81. That would leave Terry McLaurin at 4th in targets. Certainly once that quarterback play gets to be a little bit more consistent there in Washington, that certainly bodes well with the amount he's been being used. Amari Cooper, 56 targets for the year, and some injury concerns as we've gone through. If it were me, it's hard to say because I have higher expectations for Terry McLaurin than he has perhaps shown this year. So if I'm evaluating overall on talent, I probably would place Terry McLaurin a little bit above Amari Cooper. But that being said, you're also looking at your quarterback play, and certainly, until we see a healthy Ryan Fitzpatrick, the edge goes to Dallas on that side of things. So is this something potentially that you sit on and do in a couple of weeks when you know more about the Washington team? That's possible. I don't think it's a bad thought on either way. What I do want to do is I will look up the same as I did with the last trade. I will look up the end of the season to see what happens around playoff time, to see if that helps you make this decision. McLaurin, after the bye this week, 8 more games, 4 of those games in red up through week 17. 2 of those are against the same team, Philadelphia, and that's in weeks 15 and 17. So that's right smack in the dab of your playoffs. Smack in the dab, is that a phrase? It is now. 2 games in green, weeks 14 and week 16. Those are both against Dallas. And one of those obviously would be right smack in the dab of your playoff schedule. So that could certainly potentially bode well for you on that end. If I look at the same information for Amari Cooper and see what his playoff run looks like, of course, my computer does not want to cooperate. Yes, Cooper is spelled C-O. What a weird, it's so strange sometimes when you type in names and they don't show up what you're expecting to see. At any rate, if you look at Amari Cooper, wow, this is a bit for now on Amari Cooper's side. Weeks, they've already had their bye. So including this week, it's 9 games. Only 2 of those up through week 17, that's 9 games. Only 2 of those games in red. And 3 of those games in the green, including that same not back-to-back, but those 2 matchups towards the end against Washington, weeks 14 and week 16. No red in the playoffs at all, with that 1 week in week 16 in the green. So actually the matchup edge there, especially when you get to your playoffs, and again, you're 7-1, you're looking toward your playoffs at this point. The matchup edge is actually towards Cooper here over McLaurin, which might make it worthwhile to hang on to Cooper. And again, I'll look up the same thing for those other 2 because perhaps maybe there's something here I didn't think about with Keenan Allen or Chris Godwin. Keenan Allen, his playoff run. Here we go. On the other screen here, how far to game time? About 20 minutes to game time. Keenan Allen, only 1 game in the red the rest of the way through, 2 games in green. The only game in red is week 15. That's Kansas City, but that is not a team that scares you pass-wise defensively. So I like Keenan Allen's run a whole lot. Godwin, let's see the same thing. Again, I don't know if I would like making this deal as much because you're losing that stack. That stack is probably in your favor with as well as Tom Brady has been playing. But in terms of matchups, green, 3 greens. They have a bye this week, so 3 greens in the next weeks. One of them in week 15, which could be your first week of your playoffs or perhaps the last week of your year. But 3 out of the last 4 weeks in the red for Godwin. Buffalo week 14, Carolina week 16, and the Jets in week 17. That's right smack in the dab of your playoff run. So, perhaps that is enough to give you the thought of trying to acquire Keenan Allen here. But in terms of match, I think that actually Amari and the better matchups towards your playoff stretch than Terry McLaurin might be a reason to hang on there. I don't know if the matchups alone are enough to get you off of Chris Godwin here. Chris Godwin has a lot of green matchups, but I think that's certainly something to think about in terms of Keenan Allen. I don't know that it's worth actually losing that stack there. So those are kind of my thoughts, Brock. And I do see a couple follow-ups here. You say you have Deontay Johnson too. I like Deontay Johnson a whole lot for the rest of this year. With that unfortunate injury to Juju Smith-Schuster, I think he's going to continue to be worked right in that offense quite heavily. So you have a lot of potential there. And then I do see here you say, thanks, man, liked and subscribed. And I say thank you for being on the chat, as I always do. And I'll take this opportunity for those of you who might be new viewers tonight. If you have not done so yet, feel free to subscribe to the channel so that you can get those notifications whenever we have new content, as we did with this special show tonight. And for all of you, the regulars and new viewers alike, if you enjoy our content, feel free to like. The likes and the subscribes. They really do help out the channel a ton. And we appreciate you guys being with us. Hope that helps you out there, Brock. I think you're in a spot, Larry. I'll go back to your original chat where your team is pretty solid. Sometimes you're in a situation where don't mess with a good thing. Dance with the girl that brung you, whatever the phrase that you want to use for that one. And if you're 7-1 right now, hopefully you're able to stay healthy and then you're able to make it right through those playoffs and ultimately a fantasy football championship. Wish you luck, Brock, and glad to have you with us and look forward to seeing you on future streams. All right, let's see. We got Drew D is up next. Welcome, Drew D. Should I start Pittman over Debo? Let's see if we can give you some information that can help you out with this. My instinct says Debo Samuel has been too good to sit on the bench right now. But that being said, there is always reason to take a look at these matchups and see what we have. So this is on the left screen there. Fantasy points to the wide receiver spot, and we'll take a look at these two players. We'll start with Pittman tonight. Got about 20 minutes to make this decision against the Jets. The Jets currently, where do they sit? Let's see here. Where do we have? 27th. So the fifth fewest fantasy points to the wide receiver spot. Certainly Michael Pittman has been well targeted in Indy. However, I feel like this could be a heavy run game for the Colts. You would expect, although the Jets have been playing a little bit better, you would expect the Jets not to be leading this game and not to be forcing Indy to have any extra pass volume. Debo Samuel for San Francisco against Arizona. The matchup there, Arizona is at 17, so right in the middle, but nonetheless a better matchup in terms of fantasy points to wide receivers. And if we look at what they have done overall the year, Debo Samuel currently wide receiver 4, averaging 22.0, and Michael Pittman currently wide receiver 11, averaging 16.2. I don't dislike Michael Pittman. I think there are a lot of situations where you might play a Michael Pittman here, but I don't know if this is one of them because Debo Samuel has just been too good, and the matchup is actually in favor of Samuel as well. So I think there are enough factors here. I'm looking at Samuel's targets. It's not like we've seen a dip in targets. I think there are enough factors there that say, although Michael Pittman will be a fine start tonight. Wow, a lot of targets, 15 in week 8. I don't know that I would necessarily start him over Debo. Now, perhaps there's a flex option there that you like that might get him in your lineup either way, if you do like Pittman tonight. But I think Debo Samuel has been playing so well. Tough to sit a guy that has been playing as well as Debo Samuel has. Hope that helps you out there, Drew D. And if you are a new viewer, welcome to the stream. And every guy you go with there, I hope they crush it for you. Next up, we got Jacob Nixon. Let's see how much time to game time. A little less than 15 minutes. I'll try to make sure and get all these questions just in case they do refer to tonight's game. We may a little bit past game time tonight. This is not quite like the Sunday pregame show where basically all bets are off once the games start. Obviously, there are a lot of decisions to be made that might not involve tonight's game, so we're willing to stay with you a little bit longer. Jacob Nixon is here. Welcome, Jacob Nixon. I believe you might be a new viewer, so glad to have you. You say Landry, Sutton, McNichols, or AP. Let's put up some stats here. We'll start with the Cleveland game here for Landry. And let's see what we got here. Cleveland that is a road game at Cincinnati Sunday at 1:00. Fantasy points to the wide receiver spot on the left side of your screen there. Cincinnati sits at 12th, so a pretty decent matchup there. Cortland Sutton for Denver against Dallas, also a 1:00 game. Dallas at 7. McNichols, I don't know that I like McNichols for this Tennessee situation. Is if you have better options. I certainly don't think that it's a wrong play to think about starting either McNichols or an Adrian Peterson this week. It's just that when we go by data, if you have better options and you're looking at such a question mark and you don't know how it's going to shake out between McNichols or Peterson, it would be nice to know more about how that's going to go before you're trusting your lineup with that guy. Certainly, I would think that one of these two guys is, especially in week 1, my instinct says McNichols probably has the better shot to lead the way in terms of volume for Tennessee, simply because Adrian Peterson is going to be so new in that offense. But that being said, I don't really feel like McNichols necessarily fits in with the type of run game that Tennessee likes to run. Certainly he would be more of the pass catcher out of the backfield. And I don't know. I just feel like there are a lot of question marks in terms of how that shakes out there. And so if you have good options that get you away from those question marks, to me, I think that's worthy to think about here. As we look at the matchups, just compare Tennessee on the road against the Rams Sunday night, 8:20. That's the Sunday night football game. Obviously, both of these guys would have the same matchup number. The LA Rams 15th, so right in the middle in terms of fantasy to the running back spot. My guess here in terms of game script is you're more likely for this to be a potential McNichols type game. Perhaps Tennessee is not leading as they might typically do when they're leaning on that run game heavily with Derrick Henry as they did. And they have to throw the ball out of the backfield a little bit more. I think that if we're going to go on the McNichols or AP side, that might lean me that way. But like I said, with any options that are viable that don't involve that, at least the first week before you know more about how that's going to shake out, that data will help you make that decision going forward. That being said, the best matchup here is Cortland Sutton. And I probably trust Cortland Sutton a little bit above Jarvis Landry. Cleveland obviously run first offense. Sutton currently wide receiver 23 overall for the year, averaging 13.7. And I have to scroll down a little bit farther to find Landry. I'm sure. Where's Jarvis Landry fall? Is he that far down, or did I just miss him? I may have just no. He's actually wide receiver 80, averaging 10.0. Obviously he's a little low. He missed some time due to injury. But I think that Cortland Sutton is the guy that you probably trust there. Just simply. Cleveland is they're gonna lean on the run most game often than not. And Cortland Sutton, as I'm looking at it, obviously his targets were a little bit down this last week against Washington, but has had three out of the last 4 games in double digits and 2 of them over 20 in terms of fantasy points. So I still feel that Cortland Sutton is probably the guy in on more, just the more trusted guy over Jarvis Landry in that offense. I do want to look up, see what Jarvis Landry did last week in terms of targets, just to see if that impacts our decision at all. And again, let me take a look on my other screen here. 10 targets last week, so really decent, but 10 targets for only 10 fantasy points against Pittsburgh. Again, a little bit. Both of these are decent matchups. I'll take a player as Sutton is in most options in terms of fantasy points available to your team. So I think my choice, Jacob, here is Sutton. That being said, I don't fault you with – I probably would put Sutton and Landry above those other two just because of those question marks as we talked about. I don't fault you for going one way or another there. But as I often do here, this is kind of more about information than about me saying, absolutely go with this guy. I like to try to give you some information to back up my thoughts. Fantasy football is all about opinions, and by no means do I think that my opinion is the only one out there. So you guys know your rosters as well as anybody. Hopefully some of that information that I can provide you lead you towards the decision that's best for you, and you can go out and get that W. Thank you, Jacob Nixon, for the chat, and whichever guys you go with there, whichever guy you go with there, hope that they shit for you. And I do see one follow-up here, and you say that I lost Henry, so I'm trying to recover here. I don't blame you. There are many players who are in that same spot, myself included. It's never fun having to deal with injuries, and especially when you're talking about someone as good as Derrick Henry. That is absolutely going to be a problem for a lot of players. But I do think that you will have more information after this first week in terms of how that backfield shakes out. I do think that the long-term rest of season player that's going to be more usable is going to be Adrian Peterson. I don't think they would have hustled to bring him in there as quickly as they did if they didn't feel like he fits their scheme and what they kind of want to do. I think you'll still see kind of a split where McNichols works in there like a third down back, kind of like a J.D. McKissick role. But I think it's going to be Peterson because I feel like they went after that quickly because they thought this is a guy that can somewhat simulate the way they wanted to run their offense with Derrick Henry. So I do think that the fact that you were able to pick him up and get him on your roster, I think bodes well and moving forward there. Thank you, Jacob, for the chat. Glad to have you with us. We got a little less than 10 minutes to game time here. A. Aladdin, one of our regulars, is here with us tonight. Welcome back, A. Aladdin. Start 2, half-point PPR. Zach Moss, Austin Scott, McNichols, AP, Sutton, Emmanuel Sanders, and Gore from Kansas City. Very interesting thought there. Start 2, we got a lot of running backs here. So let's start with the running back stats on the left side of your screen, and we'll go through them that way. I'm very intrigued by Kansas City's Gore and what happens this week after that last week performance. Kind of, I don't know if you want to say out of nowhere, But I do want to look up his stats really quick. Let's see here. And of course, nothing wants to pop up for me. So let's do it a different way. Instead of typing the name, we'll go by the team name. All right, Derek Gore last week. 11 rushes, 48 yards with a touchdown. I want to see the reports here. He had played 5 snaps all season before the Monday night game, had never registered an NFL carry. Darrell Williams actually out-carried him 13-11, but Gore found the end zone. So this is a report on Yahoo that I'm reading. Gore did enough in this when snaps and touches behind Williams next week against the Packers. But Gore was out-targeted 7-0 by Williams. It's going to be interesting to see if this is a one-game thing for Derek Gore or not. Based on that report and based on the numbers, kind of look at how that shook out. 13-11 edge. Williams had 7-0 target edge for Williams. The end zone, the touchdown for Gore made a big difference. I don't know if that would be enough. If I'm in a really bad spot that you would go that way. I just wanted to start with him, but since I already talked about him, let's look at the matchup first. So Kansas City, let's see, the Kansas City matchup is 4:25 Sunday at home against Green Bay. Fantasy points to the running back spot. Green Bay at 17. Zach Moss for Buffalo on the road at Jacksonville, number 13 on the left side of your screen. Boston Scott, who I was concerned about Kenneth Gainwell, that Boston Scott would be the guy there for Philadelphia, home against the Chargers. The Chargers, where do they fall here? 5th most fantasy points to the running back spot, so a good matchup there. Jeremy McNichols and AP both for Tennessee. On the road against the Rams. The Rams at 15. And then we'll talk about those 2 wide receivers. I think that Zach Moss stands out to me a little bit there. And I think that Boston Scott is potentially an option, but let's look at the wide receivers as well. Again, Cortland Sutton, this is a really good match here against Dallas. Dallas sitting at 7th most fantasy points allowed to the wide receiver spot. Emmanuel Sanders for Buffalo. Jacksonville at 9th most fantasy points allowed to the wide receiver spot. That being said, I don't think you want to start 2 guys from the same team here in this situation, so I'm not going to say Sanders and Moss, but I do think that Moss is a decent start for you there for Jacksonville, or I'm sorry, for Buffalo against Jacksonville. You would expect the game script in favor of the run game there for Buffalo in that game. Jacksonville most likely without James Robinson. That hurts their offense as well. I do think that Boston Scott has some potential here. I think it's a little bit more a risk to go with a Boston Scott because there are other players, Jordan Howard, Kenneth Gainwell, who could take away from his work there. I want to take a look at what Scott did last week just to see if there are any reports that lead us towards him a little bit more. Same thing with McNichols and Peterson. Like I talked about in the earlier chat, I think it's questionable until we know how that's going to shake out. 12 rushes for 60 yards and 2 touchdowns last week for Scott. 45% snap share for him. Obviously, Howard and Gainwell both worked in there. Both of Scott's touchdowns were goal line carries. I don't know if it's enough there to feel like I want to start Scott over Moss. And I think it's probably in your favor to kind of split this up. Got looking at game time 4 minutes with 1 receiver and 1 running back here. I probably would like Moss, and I think Sutton is the better of the 2 matchups. Not only better of the 2 matchups, but also I think Sutton is your number 1 guy there, clear cut in Denver. Sanders is going to have some good weeks and some other weeks where other guys get more of the work there for Buffalo. So I hope that helps you out there, Aladdin. And I do see a couple of other chats here from you. Let me hit these really quick. Start Tannehill or Taysom Hill. I don't think I want to trust Taysom Hill yet until we know how that's going to shake out yet. I think after a week or so of Taysom Hill being back, I think that might be a better thought. But I think that Tennessee is going to now, with the Derrick Henry injury, hopefully you're going to see Tannehill a little bit more productive than he's been. I think we've already started to see the start of that. I probably like Tannehill in that situation. I'll put up the numbers just to help you out here. Fantasy points to the quarterback spot. Tennessee game. Let's see, we have Tennessee and New Orleans that we're comparing here. So Tennessee, that is on the road. Rams sitting at 22nd. And then for New Orleans, let's see, where are they on our screen here? Home against Atlanta 5. So in favor of Taysom Hill, but I don't know where we are with injuries for Taysom Hill. I probably would trust more Tannehill right now in that situation until we see more. In another league, you say start 2 half-point PPR: McNichols, Scott, Gore, AP, Mike Davis. I'm going to rule out Mike Davis. Just too much Cordell Patterson taking away work there. Same reason I'm going to rule out Gore, as we talked about before. I think in this situation, you probably like that matchup for Scott for Philadelphia against the Chargers, and the Chargers at 5th. So I probably pick Scott as one of my guys here. And then that leaves you between McNichols and Adrian Peterson, again, in a game against the Rams. My gut here says that McNichols is going to be utilized mostly as a pass-catching back. However, given this is the first week there for Peterson, perhaps they don't feel comfortable with his workload yet or his being comfortable in the offense yet, and McNichols might get a little bit of that run game work as well. So process of elimination here, I'm just not high enough on Mike Davis to take him over a guy like Jeremy McNichols here. I would probably go Scott and McNichols. Hope that helps you out there, Aladdin. And again, glad to have you back, one of our regulars, and hope that whichever guys you go there, hope they crush it for you. We've got 1 minute to game time here. Let me see. Before we go, I'm going to continue in order, but I just want to see if there's anybody else that has questions. I do see one about tonight. Landon Carter, Michael Carter, Landon Kuchar, Michael Carter, or James Robinson. Welcome to the stream, Landon. I would go Carter here. Hopefully you still got an opportunity to make this choice. I don't trust that James Robinson is going to play. And I do see Rob Navarro. Welcome back, Rob. PPR, Michael Carter or Cordell Patterson. This is my gut because we're so close to game time. Patterson. I will revisit both of these comments because I know that if you're going to make a choice right now, you have to make this really quickly. Taylor Kravitz, Michael Carter, or Amari Cooper. I think Amari Cooper. I think Michael Carter has played well, but I don't trust this game for the Jets in terms of game script. Nate, should I start the Colts D against the Jets? I absolutely am trusting the Colts D in many of my leagues this week. If you've been streaming defenses and setting yourself up in order to play Indianapolis this week, I think you got to roll it at the point. So I think, regardless of the fact that the Jets have played a little bit better, they are still the Jets. And this is still a Thursday night game. So there are a lot of factors there that bode well for you. I'm certainly rolling with in a couple of my leagues as well. So interesting to think what happens there. I do see another one here from Jugraj Pato, Fryermuth or Mo Ali Cox. I wish I had a little bit more time to investigate this here for you, Jugraj. Mo Ali Cox in tonight's game against the Jets. The Jets' 10th most fantasy points to the tight end spot. I don't know if I trust Fryermuth enough yet for Pittsburgh. However, the matchup against Chicago sits at where are they? Fantasy points second to last. I would go Mo Ali Cox if you still have the opportunity to get him in there, Jugraj. I hope that helps you out there. And you say PPR. I would probably take the shot on Mo Ali Cox given that matchup there. I know that Fryermuth did have a little bit better of a game this week, but still, I don't know how much that Pittsburgh will continue to work him into that offense there. Currently sitting at tight end 20. Jumping around a little bit. Let me see if there's anybody else that I did not get that is impacted by tonight's game. I don't see any others. So hopefully I got all of you who had questions specifically pertaining to tonight's game and you were able to make those decisions before that lineup closed for the night. And also, now that we've done that, I will go through the other comments that we still have in place here. Let's see here. Where are we at here? Bill Romanowski is with us. Bill Romanowski says, howdy, one of our regulars. Welcome back, Bill. Glad to have you with us here tonight. And you follow up here and you say, my 6-game win streak snapped Monday night. 6-2. The one waiver wire still dropped Michael Thomas for Dawson Knox. A nice pickup there in Dawson Knox. And Michael Thomas, obviously, we know is not going to play for the rest of the season. So it was definitely worth the flyer. It just didn't happen to work out in your favor there. So hopefully Dawson Knox is a nice pickup for you down the road. And you follow up to Brock and say, awesome. And let me see if there are any follow-ups other than that from you, Bill. I don't see. Glad to have you back with us, Bill. Good luck in that 6 picks game. Real quick. As game time starts up here, we'll put up the little promo that we have for the 6 picks game. Let me get rid of the comment that's over the top of this right now. This was our thumbnail from last week's 6 picks game. Again, this is a game that we play throughout the season, and it's very simple. We give you 6 fantasy matchups that occur within the same games. You pick winners based on PPR scoring. This was last week's Jonathan Taylor versus Derrick Henry. We will have a new set of picks for week 9, and then here are the leaders as we went into last week's action. This is not updated after week 8 yet. James Kazi leading the way. You see the percentages there, which is how we keep track of it. With a minimum amount of weeks, that minimum will start to increase as we go through the season. James Kazi, Vansco, and Michael McFarland currently on the leaderboard. So check out our 6 picks game. For those of you that haven't seen it yet, you can check on any of the previous videos to kind of see how it works. It's really simple, self-explanatory. You'll see it. Just kind of a game for you guys to participate, and hopefully you guys all enjoy it. We keep the standings all season long for you. Show off your fantasy football skills and get on that leaderboard. All right, let me see who next I have in line here. James Martin, one of our regulars, is back. James Martin, welcome back. Would you start Jacoby Myers or Jameson Crowder? Well, let's take a look at some of the matchup numbers and see what we have there. Fantasy points to the wide receiver spot on the little screen there. We start with Jacoby Myers, New England against Carolina. Carolina currently sits at 28, so that is the 5th fewest fantasy points to the wide receiver spot. Not a great matchup there. Jameson Crowder. Oh, James, it didn't register in my mind that Jameson Crowder was about to play. So hopefully you have been able to make the right decision for you here. As I was scrolling through looking for those different ones that were tonight, I'm like, oh, Jameson Crowder, he's not till Sunday. No, he's playing right now. Well, nonetheless, the matchup with Indy would have been a little better. 8th fantasy points to the wide receiver spot. In terms of what they've done so far this season, I don't know that I would necessarily I don't know that you're in a bad spot to go with Myers, because we've seen a lot more information from him throughout the year. If that was the situation for you, he is currently wide receiver 30. And as I look at his numbers, again, you've probably already made this decision one way or the other. So I'm just trying to give the question its due at this point. Myers' targets have been very solid. A little bit lower the past 4 games, 5, 6, 7, and 9 the last 4, but still very reasonable. Fantasy points, he's only had 2 weeks under double digits for the entire season, very consistent, and those 2 weeks were 8 and 9, so it's not like he was way under. When we compare that to Jameson Crowder for the Jets, scrolling down because he obviously missed a lot more time due to injury to find where Jameson Crowder falls on this list right now. It might be easier to actually search his name because I'm not seeing him show up for me right now, but he's around here somewhere. Well, nonetheless, I'm still looking for Jameson Crowder, but my thought here would be that we've seen a lot of times I like to lean with the guy that you simply have more data to go on, and you simply do have more data right now with Jacoby Myers. So if you have gone that way, currently here he is, wide receiver 67, and in terms of targets, in the 4 games that he's played since coming back from injury, 9, 6, 6, and 9. Fantasy points 19, 8, 7, and 16. I think these two are probably within the same range here. I do think that either one of these guys is going to be fine for you, James. So hopefully that my missing your question did not impact you too much either way, because I think I would fault you with either one of these as the guy that you start there. So hopefully whichever guy that you got there, hope they crush it for you. I do see or Tony. I will go through this because potentially you have not started Jameson Crowder and are still, making this decision. James Toney in the New York Giants game this weekend. That game is a 1:00 home against Las Vegas, currently allowing the 4th fewest fantasy points to the wide receiver spot. So the matchup not quite as great there, although the injury concerns with the Giants still persist and potentially a little more volume. Let me see let me take a little closer look here at Toney in terms of his recent action here. 5 targets against Kansas City, 4 catches, 7 fantasy points. He did have some injury concerns, missing week 7, and the week before that only 3 targets. I probably feel more comfortable even in this situation, despite the potential uptick in volume. Probably feel a little bit more comfortable with Jacoby Myers at this point. Hope that helps you out there, James. And like I said, potentially you've already made this decision and it doesn't make a difference, but hopefully some of that information, if you still need it, does help you out. And glad to have you back on the stream again tonight. All right, let me go through these next few chats here. And I don't mean to miss anybody, but I did jump around a little bit. So if I did miss anybody, just tell me, hey, you missed mine, and I'll go right back and find it there. We did talk about Jugraj Pata asked about Freiermuth or Mo Cox. We did answer that. Landon Carter, Michael Carter, or Landon Kucherer. I keep saying Carter because right below that is your chat. I do think that, and I've actually had to make this same decision in some of my leagues, at least one spot. I went with Carter, not so much because of the matchup, but more because of the fact that I just don't feel comfortable that Robinson actually plays this week. Rob Navarro, I'll give this question a little bit more due, even though you've probably already made a decision. Jets against Indy for Michael Carter. Indy, 3rd fewest fantasy points to the running back spot. And then Cordell Patterson was the answer that I believe that I gave you. And Atlanta, where are they on our list here? On the road against New Orleans. New Orleans right in the same range, fourth fewest fantasy points. I think that Cordell Patterson, you roll with him as he's been doing all season long here. Looking over at the game, no score in the game right now. Jets and Colts. Looks like Colts are about to get the ball. This might turn into a little bit of a live reaction show if we continue to be on the air much longer. We'll see how it goes. It's a special show, so we're just going to roll with it. Thanks, Rob, for the chat. Taylor Kravitz, we mentioned this before, Michael Carter or Amari Cooper. We'll give this a little bit more play. I know that Amari Cooper was the answer that I gave you. Here are the matchups on the left side of your screen. Dallas against Denver. Denver currently sits at fantasy points to wide receivers 23rd. That is the 10th fewest. And then again, the Carter side of that, Indianapolis, the third fewest fantasy points to the running back spot. I do think that favors Cooper here. I think, yes, Michael Carter has played well. I don't know if it's quite an every week thing at this point, and that's the reasons why I favor Amari Cooper. Simply one of your top guys. I don't feel that I want to start or sit him at this point for Michael Carter. I hope that helps you out there, Taylor, and thank you for the chat. Next up in line here, I got Nate's here. Nate, I hope you started the Colts defense, and hopefully they play well. I certainly hope that because I have them going in a bunch of places myself. Rolando RG, one of our regulars, is back. I like that Lawrence Taylor image you got there going, Rolando RG. Thank you for the chat. Welcome to the stream. If CMC doesn't play, who should I start? Javonte Williams or Tony Pollard? PPR. And I think the goes with the emoji. Let's take a look at the numbers and see what we can find. Denver on the road at Dallas. This is the same matchup. Dallas on the left side of your screen, fantasy points to the running back spot, 25th. So that is the 8th fewest fantasy points to the running back spot. Of course, we know Melvin Gordon and Williams are going to split time there. And of course, Tony Pollard and Zeke are going to split time as well. Zeke is going to be on the better side of that, I would assume. I think Javonte Williams and Gordon, you're going to still see kind of a equal type split there. But if we look at the Dallas side of that, fantasy points allowed by Denver to the running back spot is, where do we see Denver on the left side of the list there? 21st. So we're right about in the same range. Who do I like better between those two? My instinct says Javonte Williams over Pollard, just because I feel like there is a better chance that Pollard sees less of the fantasy production when you have an Ezekiel Elliott in the lineup than Williams, who is, yes, I know that Melvin Gordon is there. Javonte Williams is currently running back 25 for the year. Melvin Gordon is currently, where do we see him? Running back 15 for the year. Zeke is running back 10. And Tony Pollard, where's Tony Pollard fall? I may have missed him here. Tony Pollard is running back 30. So slight edge overall. Javonte Williams averaging 10.1, Pollard averaging 10.4. They're right about in the same range. My instinct says Williams here. Fantasy points for in the last 4 weeks, 3 out of the last 4 in double digits and 4 of the last 6 for Williams. And if we compare that to the Pollard side of this, fantasy points in the last 5 games, only 1 in double digits for Pollard out of the last 5. He did have that big game earlier on in the season that bolstered his numbers. So I think of those two, I probably favor Williams. The matchups are pretty close. I think slight volume edge to Williams over Pollard most of the time, although it's not like there couldn't be times when Pollard has nice games as well. But those are the reasons why I like Javonte Williams. Hopefully McCaffrey plays and you don't have to make that decision. That would be nice for everybody who has Christian McCaffrey in their rosters. But Rolando, I think that would favor. Look at a bug flying around here. I would favor Javonte Williams. Again, I got it. Oh, welcome to TFF Live. It's good stuff here. And Rolando, I hope whichever guy you crush there, hope whichever guy you picked there, I hope they crush it for you. Bill Romanowski says, get those 6 picks in, people. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. Answering back to Rolando, great question. They play each other. Vansco is here. Good to see you again. Oh, I should mention that. Sunday pregame last week. I did have an obligation with work. I was actually traveling, and so therefore the Sunday pregame show was not on this past week, and hopefully all of you guys were still able to work through all those decisions. Certainly missed being able to make that show happen for you guys, but that is why I'm glad you said that. Good to see you again, Vansco. That is the that is why we were not here on Sunday. And that is also kind of why I decided to do a special show tonight on Thursday, kind of a, like in when you're talking like in basketball and they have like a makeup call, they call foul on the guy when they missed one the time before. This is kind of like the makeup call right here of the missed Sunday pregame show. So went ahead and did the Thursday special here. And again, this is sort of going to turn into sort of a live reaction show. And as I say that, let me go ahead and get up on my other screen here the play-by-play for this game so that as we continue during the show, I will be able to look up these stats that we've got right now. Currently, no score in this game. We've got not a lot of fantasy points going on either side. Indy has the ball for those of you that are not watching, and a lot of pressure on Carson Wentz right now from the Jets defense. Third down, just under 10 minutes left in this game. Colts with the ball at their own 30-yard line. And let's do a little play-by-play. How about that, Vance? Go a little play-by-play in this game. Wentz under center and back to pass 3rd and 6. Pass complete to Michael Pittman for a first down. And pushed out of bounds, but forward progress will be just fine there. So it is going to be, as we talked about before, Michael Pittman, who probably will have a huge game now that we talked about not starting him tonight. Let me move on to the next chat here from you, Vansco. I made the ultimate gut decision. I started Wentz over questionable Kyler in 2 spots. Oh, this is interesting since I'm just doing the play-by-play for you, Vansco. I didn't read this chat until I put it up on the screen. Started Wentz over questionable Kyler in 2 spots. There just isn't anyone on the waivers of worth if Kyler is out. I will agree with that. And Bill Romanowski feels the same way there. Just for you, Vansco, I will go ahead and call up first down now for the Colts. Carson Wentz, a blustery 1 for 2 so far for 9 yards in this game. But he's back to pass this time on play action and dumps it off to Taylor over the middle. It's going to pick up about 5 yards there. Jonathan Taylor, about 7 or 8 yard gain. Hopefully we're looking for a nice game out of Jonathan Taylor this game. I feel like if anybody is going to stand out in this game, it's going to be Taylor for the Colts. Drunk Squidward is with us tonight. Welcome back, Drunk Squidward. With Derrick Henry being out, I had to make a trade for a running back. I traded Brandon Cooks for Leonard Fournette. Did I do decent? I certainly, especially if you have depth at the wide receiver spot, I think you did just fine there. I know that I've been scouring teams in the league. I think I have Derrick Henry in only one of my leagues, which is better than having him in a lot at this point. And been trying to scour the options up for myself to make a trade. This is a difficult situation, but I think if you're able to make this deal, Brandon Cooks has been playing well, but I think Leonard Fournette is a guy that, he has certainly overproduced. I think what you would have, his expectations would have been for the year. Currently running back 12 is Fournette right now, averaging 15.2. If you compare that to Cooks, yes, Cooks has been good, and he's going to be the number 1 guy for Houston. He is wide receiver 17, so he is flipped a little bit. He's currently averaging 15.3. And also, did he have a bye week already in there? Is that part of the reason why he slipped? No, he has not had his bye week yet. So again, I think you've done well there. I think you do the best in this situation when you lose Derrick Henry. You do the best that you can at this point to try to recover and still do well. It's a very tough situation. We never want to see anybody get hurt. But this is a real problem for these players. It's simply fantasy football for those that are playing, so it's not really as big of a problem for us as it is for them. So it's tough to kind of talk about it like it's such a bad thing. But injuries is something that you have to deal with, unfortunately. Derrick Henry is, as well as he's going to be tough for anybody to try to continue to have the same sort of fantasy production that they've had before. But I think you did a decent job there to pick up a Leonard Fournette. Obviously, you don't expect him to be your running back 1. You might not have running back 1 anymore at this point with Derrick Henry out. But you just hope that you can make it through. Looks like Nyheim Hines touchdown for the Colts. We're going to assume, I did not see the play, but we're going to assume that was also a Carson Wentz touchdown pass there for you, Vansco. Let me see if I have this on my other screen here. Carson Wentz. No, what happened here? What am I seeing? No, this was a handoff. Here's the replay. Wentz and Hines, of course, Hines is going to take that touchdown away from Jonathan Taylor on the ground. Great to know there. This is a pretty big run. Looks like Nyheim Hines looks like a 25 in the range of 25 yards there. I'm not sure why my other screen here is showing me Mike White to Tyler Kroft. 34-yard rush there for Nyheim Hines. Glad to see that he happened to be in the game instead of Jonathan Taylor at that time. Great for those of us who have Jonathan Taylor on our rosters. Hope that helps you out there, Drunk Squidward. Kind of jumping around a little bit here. Bill Romanowski blooper reel highlight with a bug squash. I don't know if I got him or not, so I hope I don't have to go back to the bug squash again. But I'm going to start working on that blooper reel, Bill. It's not a bad idea. There's been plenty of them. Vansco, speaking of trades, I sold high on Lockett. Very well done there, Vansco. As you know, I have not been a really high on Lockett this year. Packaged Higbee to the Kittle Tunyon owner and bought low on Scary. Wow, you've done well. I'm getting a little grief, but I think at worst it could be a lateral move. Not sure what you mean by a little grief here. Lateral move on, let's see. I'm going to see if I can figure out this trade. You packaged Higbee, so Higbee and Lockett for Scary Terry. That is, I'm assuming that you did not need Tyler Higbee at your tight end spot. And for that matter, I don't know that Tyler Higbee has been giving you all that much production over what streaming a tight end would be at this point. He's probably, I feel like, middle of the road. Tyler Higbee currently tight end 14, so does not even register as a T1 overall. So certainly even if you didn't have, and he hasn't had his bye week yet, so that didn't impact his numbers at all. So I don't know why Tyler Higbee, I mean, yes, he has some value to another team that now lost Robert Tonyan, but in terms of what you need advance go, I'm sure that you're plenty comfortable in streaming tight ends if you have to here. I don't know why you would be getting grief on this one. I think this is a great move for you. I don't know why Scary Terry over Tyler Lockett is a clear upgrade, despite the fact that Taylor Heineke, his play has been up and down, but McLaurin currently wide receiver 15 for the year. Tyler Lockett currently wide receiver 20. Again, the stats with Tyler Lockett are so misleading. We talked about this to start the year. The amount of games where he is not even registering as a WR2 or better simply just crush your team. You also, I mean, you love to have those big weeks, but you don't always need a big week to win your matchup when you're at the level of Tyler Lockett. He's not your wide receiver 1. He's probably not your wide receiver 2. He's probably a flex play. And I know that I hit him on several spots last year, and the amount of weeks where, that's 0 or close to 0, ended up losing those matchups just soured me so much on Tyler Lockett. He's had 4 games in double digits, 3 of them 26 or above. He's had 4 games under double digits, 7, 6, 6, and 3 in PPR format. So it's just so difficult to live with those ups and downs. If you were playing in a best ball league or that sort of thing where only the big weeks mattered, then there's certainly a way more value to Tyler Lockett. But I have such a hard time with guys who are such boomer bust like that. So I think that your move there to Scary Terry is definitely in your favor, especially if Ryan Fitzpatrick is back in the mix there soon, which hopefully he is. And you're at best or at worst you're streaming a tight end, or at best you have some sort of a backup here. Let me see what your follow-ups here. I do see Drunk Store. I will hit yours up. Little live reactions here as we go. Mike White back to pass and all tipped pass, and could have been an interception for Indianapolis. That would have been nice. You probably would have heard me celebrate that one. Vance, you say, come on, Wentz, every pass needs to be 60 yards to Pittman. I would agree with that. It's never a bad option there at all. You say Higbee was the backup. The grief was coming from the fact that Russ is coming back and Lockett should light it up again. I agree. I think it's a good move. I mean, yes, Lockett will. The thing is that for anybody who is pointing out that Lockett will light it up, possibly doesn't have Lockett on their roster to know what it feels like for the weeks when he doesn't light it up. When he does light it up, it's great. But there are so many weeks where you're like, can you not even get me 10 points when you're not scoring 50? I mean, it's so frustrating. So yes, in that aspect, there's probably a lot of players out there who have not had a Tyler Lockett on their roster. You understand it more when you have. And Vansco, you're probably thinking along those same lines, that it's very frustrating. If you only needed big weeks, it's one thing, but you need consistency in this game to win. It's very important. And you say, thanks, man. I've had the same mindset. Probably just league mates trying to throw me off of my game. Or I would look at it more this way, Vansco. Other players who potentially you can make these trades to when your thoughts don't match up with theirs. If they like a Tyler Lockett and you know otherwise, that's your opportunity to get back a guy that can improve your rosters. So you've done well there. Oh, big over the top catch there. Who is that? I can't say that I know numbers all that well for the Jets. Looks like Jameson Crowder, number 88 could be. Unfortunately, when you don't have as much fantasy involvement with teams. No, that is Keelan Cole with the catch there. I can't say that I'm, in order to actually do play-by-play in these games, I need to be a little bit more familiar with the rosters than I potentially am. But nonetheless, the Jets with the ball right now at their own 36-yard line, 1st and 10 for the Jets. We'll see what happens in this game with Mike White again. Back to Drunk Squidward here. Handoff now, it looks like to Carter. Inside, picks up a couple of yards. Would love to see a nice Michael Carter game. I have him going in a couple of sets here. Drunk Squidward, I have faith on Jerry Jeudy. That's why I traded Brandon Cooks, and I have Jerry Jeudy on flex replacing Brandon Cooks. So absolutely, this is one of those situations where they always say trade your strength. And for you felt like you had depth at the wide receiver spot. You needed help at the running back spot, and that's where you went and made that move. So I think you're in good shape there, and that's the way you have to do these things, Drunk Squidward. Then, like I always say, it's fantasy football is a lot like poker. You play your hand. Sometimes the cards fall the right way. Sometimes they don't. So all you can do is kind of make those moves, make the best decisions that you can. White back to pass, and it looks like Cole again for a first down. So it looks like Keelan Cole being worked into this offense quite a bit right now. Let's take a look at what his targets are so far. That is his 3rd target of the game. He's currently leading the way on the Jets side of the ball. Not a lot else to speak of other than that. Nyheim Hines obviously already over 10 fantasy points with that big run. All right, back to the chats here. Where are we in the chats? Thank you, Drunk Squidward, for the chats. Appreciate it. Glad to have you back on the stream with us tonight. Again, a little special Thursday deal. Bill Romanski here says, best backup quarterback for the remainder of the season off the top of your head, Matt Ryan, Ryan Fitzpatrick, or Mac Jones. I don't have a lot of confidence in Matt Ryan. There's been just so many weeks that have been like, I think that Fitzpatrick, if he were healthy, is a guy that I liked a lot starting the season. I don't know why that would change. Especially given the fact that I kind of expected starting the season that Washington would be a team that would play well defensively and run the ball more. They aren't. So therefore, that means it's a game script situation where they're going to have to pass a lot. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is a gunslinger, and that bodes well in fantasy. So off the top of my head, it's Fitzpatrick. Taylor Heineke has not played well. Currently quarterback 14 for the season, and he has not been playing well. Big pass play for the Jets. Again, this is not sure who in the world this is. If I had planned on doing an actual live play-by-play show, I would have done a little bit of research on who my players were. But that is Elijah Moore, the rookie for the Jets. You can see how much we watch the Jets up here in Buffalo, but I don't even know who these guys are. Anyways, back to your question, Bill. A lot of jumping around here. I think Matt Ryan probably is 3rd to me. He's currently quarterback 21. He's played the whole season. Heineke is not, and he's 14. That doesn't say a lot about Heineke, but what it does say is that the offense in Washington could support good fantasy production for Fitzpatrick when he gets back. Mac Jones currently at quarterback 22 for New England. I think there is some potential there. I don't like the weapons as much as I liked them in Washington. I still like Terry McLaurin a lot for Washington. We've got touchdown Elijah Moore for the Jets in the end zone. The rookie Moore making his way here. Looks like around a 20-yard touchdown catch into the corner of the end zone, and it is going to be 7-all in this game. And what do we have here? A Thursday night game with fantasy points? What's happening? Who would have thought? At any rate, back to your question here, Bill. I like Fitzpatrick of these 3. That's not taken into consideration looking at the actual matchups to see what those are, but I'm not going to go that in depth to look at those. I do think Fitzpatrick is, out of those 3, the guy that I trust the most. And especially now with the situation with Calvin Ridley, fortunately, not playing for the rest of the season. We hope all is well with him. Fitzpatrick has more weapons there, or at least one weapon there with potential backfield help. I do think Logan Thomas, when he comes back, is going to bolster Fitzpatrick as well. So I think that's the guy that I would look for. And if you're in a spot where you need a player or you lost a quarterback, then I think that's a reasonable thought as we go through the rest of the season. For the chat, Bill Vansco is here. Man, I guess a shootout would benefit the Wentz play. Yes, it would. But a shame for all those folks starting Colts D. Wah, wah. That's me. In several leagues, by the way, that's me. So, that's not what I wanted to see. But you never know. Vansco says, any available stacks with those players? And Romanowski says, just Pitts. Vansco's tough decision for sure. And you say that I like Fitzmagic as well. And Bill says, right on. Thanks, guys. And I say, no, as always, thank you, Bill. And thank you, Vansco. We are all the way through all of our chats. I'm going to stick around on the stream for a little while. It is close to 9 o'clock here on the East Coast. I'm going to look for a little bit more of the play-by-play action for the rest of this game here with you guys. If there are any other chats, here's what we'll do. Let's put up the original chat. This is going to be a little bit of a continually off-the-cuff show. But for those of you who are on the stream, feel free. If you have fantasy questions pertaining to the rest of the week or whatnot, or pertaining to tonight's game, we're not going to stay on the stream for the entire game tonight, but we'll stay on the stream for a little bit while longer and just watch a little bit of football with you guys. But the live chat will remain open, answering your fantasy football questions all show long. We will leave that chat up there. LeBron's Brain is here back with us, one of our regulars. Welcome back, LeBron's Brain. You say I need him to have a good game. Well, he's off to a decent start. And it looks like the way things are going so far, some points are being put on the board. So that does bode well for you, LeBron's Brain, in terms of this turning into something more than the usual stinker. Pittman already with 2 targets, just the 1 catch. But Wentz has only thrown it 5 times so far. So you are off to a reasonable start. You would expect, certainly it helps you that the Jets just scored that touchdown, because the potential for this not to simply turn into a squash game for the Colts and running the ball the whole way means that you, LeBron's Brain, might get more out of Michael Pittman than you might in the typical Jets loss. Nonetheless, Elijah Moore for the Jets right now with that touchdown. 2 catches for 45 yards, 10.50 fantasy points. And this is a standard I'm looking at right now. So that is actually not the PPR total. Look at the PPR total on my screen. 12.5 right now for Elijah Moore. And Naeem Hines with 11.7. Taylor with 3.1, 3.10. And then Mike White with 7.80 already for the Jets. Could Mike White put up another performance like he did last week? Is that possible? I guess we'll find out. All right, let's put up the we're going to leave this up for us, the original live chat open. Again, I'm going to stay the stream for a little while longer. I'm not going to stay on for the whole game, but we'll watch a little bit of football here and remain around if any of you guys have any more lineup questions. This is kind of just an off-the-cuff show tonight, not really as much production-wise going for tonight's show, but we thought we'd just do a special show for all you guys since we missed the Sunday show. And so any of you guys that have questions, feel free to jump in the chat. Even if we are talking about other stuff, we will be glad to go through and take a look at any of your fantasy football information, trades, lineup question, any of those certain things. We can do a chat here and the good news with this one is because since we're just kind of off the cuff, it doesn't take long to get to our chats tonight. So welcome to us, Javen Great Vid. Glad to have you with us on the stream. Looks like you're a new viewer. Welcome. You say full PPR. I'm Aiden. Oh, very nice. Congratulations. Do I trade away Kamara, D. Hopkins, and Edmonds for CMC and Nixon? There is thought here because of the fact that New Orleans picked up Mark Ingram. For me personally, I went out and I traded for Alvin Kamara a few weeks back, and I don't know how I feel now. I feel like my value has decreased a little bit just personally for making that trade. So I could see the thought of trading him away. I do think Alvin Kamara is going to continue to be a top guy for the rest of the year. Hopkins has played okay. There's been some injury concerns. Excuse me. Chase Edmonds has been pretty solid. Let's look at the actual where they fall right now. I do want to see where Chase Edmonds falls because I have not looked up his stats as much recently. The last time he's running back 17 right now. So he's been pretty solid. Numbers wise, let's see here. Fantasy points, only 2 weeks under double digits out of his 8 games. That's 2 weeks, 10 and 16. You're looking to acquire McCaffrey and Nixon. My only concern, Nixon is currently running back 9 here. I don't have a lot of concern over Nixon. Nixon has only had 1 game under double digits this year, so he has certainly played very well. I like that Cincinnati offense a whole lot. There are several games that I'm looking at on the platform where I'm looking here in green for Mixon, so his matchups look pretty good going forward. Again, this is the type of trade, when we talk about the difference in trades here, if you are at the top of your league, you feel good to make the playoffs, then you're making deals that are top-heavy deals would be kind of the way I would put it. Like you're looking to add the big name. You don't need the depth as much because you don't need to try to work your way through bye weeks. you're expecting to be in the playoffs and you're looking to win the league at the end of the year. So in that aspect, this is the reason to make this play. Big play to Zach Pascal there for the Colts. Not sure how long of a play that was. Looking over here again, doing a little bit of live reactions. Looks like around a 60-yard bomb from Wentz to Pascal. So Vansco, no, I'm sorry. That play was incomplete. This is what happens when you're doing a live stream while half watching the game. Anyway, back to your question, Javen. My only concern with this deal is the health of McCaffrey, because of course we expect him to be back and be healthy, but we also expected him to be back healthy last year, and it didn't work out well. If there was an issue where he did not return to form this year, then essentially by making this deal now, you've traded 3 players for Joe Mixon. If you have the ability and enough depth to do that, then I think you're fine. You're only really losing 1 player, but it's essentially it's a Kamara for Mixon trade at this point, and it's kind of like losing D Hopkins for nothing back. That is my concern here. I would definitely continue to keep an eye on your reports as McCaffrey make his way back for practice. That would be my only real way of being hesitant on this one, and I really would be hesitant on this one because if you were to make this deal shooting for, that big win at the end of the year, and then CMC ends up not playing at all, now there's a chance you're taking yourself from 8-0 and kind of working your way out of the playoffs here. So I definitely think you can make this deal in a perfect world. And, considering McCaffrey is healthy, then yes, I think this is the right way to think in terms of going after that fantasy football league championship. I am hesitant about the injury concerns with McCaffrey. I would love to feel better, especially since already once this season it's looked like McCaffrey was going to return and then he didn't. And not only did he not return, but he went to IR. So it's like I don't understand the evaluation that's going on with Carolina. Last year they thought he was going to play, didn't play. This year they thought he was going to play, and then not only did he not play, they sat him for a bunch of weeks. So it's just questionable in my situation on whether or not he's healthy. If healthy, if you're happy with the fact that he's healthy, or if you feel like taking that chance, then I do think this is a deal that you can make. And I think you're thinking the right way, because this is a deal that potentially wins you your league at the end of the year if all those things work out. Hope that helps you out there, Javen. Glad to have you on the stream, and we'll look forward to seeing you on future streams as well. LeBron's Brain comments says that he would do that deal. He agrees about Kamara's value goes down. I definitely agree with that. And also, the quarterback situation there in New Orleans could be a good for Kamara, or it could be a bad thing. That depends on how much they use Taysom Hill. The more involved Taysom Hill is in the offense in New Orleans, the worse it is for Alvin Kamara's fantasy production. If it ends up being Trevor Siemian and they simply roll with him all the way through, I think that is a very good thing for Kamara. I think his volume is going to remain high at that point. I don't think that Ingram being there concerns me. If it's the situation, but let's put it this way. I'm more concerned with Taysom Hill than Mark Ingram. I think that Kamara's value is still going to be fine, even if he's splitting a little bit with Ingram. I think it's Taysom Hill that really impacts Kamara's value going forward. A lot of on this stream, I'm not even sure that I say, sometimes I say Kamara and sometimes I say Kamara, and it's just like not on purpose. I just happen to say whatever I happen to say. I honestly don't even know which one of those is correct, if it's Kamara or Kamara. Either way, I do agree with their LeBron's Brain. I see the next chats here. Before we get that, let's do a little play-by-play. It's 3rd down for the Colts at the 50-yard line, and Wentz is going to hand it off inside to big run for Jonathan Taylor. 1st down for about 10, 15 yards there. Good to see Jonathan Taylor get it all and not Nyheim Hines. Can you tell that I have Jonathan Taylor on some rosters based on the way I am rooting here? Let's see what happens on the rest of this drive. We'll keep going through the chats as we go. Bill Romanowski says, fantasy is halfway over. Playoff push coming soon. I get Saquon and Montgomery back soon. I will definitely agree with you there, Bill. Vansco says, Mike White with trainers looking at his wrist. I did not see that, but that is not good. Perry Williams is here. Perry, welcome. It looks like you might be a new viewer to the stream. Glad to have you with us tonight here. Perry, you say I didn't draft running backs well, so I was wondering, am I giving too much if I did Damian Harris and Kyle Pitts for Zeke and Gerald Everett? Are you giving too much? I don't think this is unreasonable. I think that Damian, your upgrade is very good there from Harris to Zeke. My question is that are you simply looking at Kyle Pitts is your tight end one, and you're going to slot in Gerald Everett as your new tight end one? If that was the case, I think that Kyle Pitts is on the upswing. Looking at the numbers on my other screen here, he is currently tight end 6 for the year. And let me see, where does Everett fall? Quite a bit farther down the list. He's actually tight end 34. I do believe he has missed some time. If I look at his numbers, he has missed a couple of games there, so that impacted him. But he's only had 2 games in double digits, and those were both at 10. And target-wise, he's only had this is his run of targets in the games that he's played: 2, 2, 5, 3, 3, 2. So I definitely think that your upgrade from Harris to Zeke is solid, but I think that the downgrade you're taking from Pitts to Everett might be more than offsetting the upgrade in the long run. The involvement in the offense for Atlanta, Pitts' targets, if I read his targets game by game for the whole year, it goes like 8, 6, 3, 9, 10, 8, 6. He has had 4 games under double digits, but he's had a couple of real big games. You have to think that his involvement in that offense continues to be quite a bit of volume now, with Calvin Ridley unfortunately not playing for the rest of the year, and we hope everything is well with Calvin Ridley. So I think that Kyle Pitts is essentially going to play like a wide receiver on your team for the rest of this year. That would be the expectation that I would have for Kyle Pitts. Is there a way you can do this deal without giving up Pitts? Perhaps giving up a lower down wide receiver on your roster, like a WR3 or a flex wide receiver, and perhaps making it like a 2-for-1, keeping Pitts and say trading Damian Harris and name a flex wide receiver as a 2-for-1 for Zeke. And would you be able to get that deal if you did that? I think that's probably your route to go. I do think that the difference between Zeke and Damian Harris is not as big a difference as it is between Pitts and Everett. And what I mean when I say that is Zeke right now is currently, where does he fall on the list? He's running back 10 for the year. Damian Harris is currently running back 16. Zeke Elliott is averaging 18.0. Harris is averaging 12.5. It's a clear upgrade, but when you look at where they fall on the list from 10th to 16th, and I don't remember what I said Everett was, but he's quite a bit lower. Obviously, the tight end spot is more difficult to find good production at. Are you comfortable streaming other tight ends if Everett doesn't work out for you? I think you might be in that situation where you have to do that, because I don't know if Everett's going to turn in the production that you're looking for there. Zeke has only had 1 week under double digits. He's certainly been solid all year long. Damian Harris for New England is any New England running back going to be more difficult to predict, but he's only had 2 weeks under double digits. And the last 4 weeks, all 10, 18, 25, and 14. So Damian Harris has been okay. He's not a Zeke. But in terms of the downgrade from Zeke to Harris, I think the downgrade from Pitts to Everett is steeper of the two. And that's why I would say I would try to I don't think you're wrong to make this trade to try to get Zeke, but I would like to see if you could perhaps find a different player to package with Harris than Pitts, because I think there's a lot of upside for Pitts the rest of this season. I would probably hang on to him. If you're still on Perry, let's see here. Let's see. I see a follow-up here. You say, I have Dallas Goddard, which I really like. That does change. Again, whenever these questions come up, you guys know your rosters as well as anybody, and it's difficult to look at these in a vacuum. So that being said, now this does change their perspective a little bit. Now you are in a situation where you're trading depth. If you're happy with Goddard for the rest of the year, you're going to get Kyle Pitts is going to get you more return, and perhaps you can't get the deal, Damian Harris and wide receiver, whoever pick a name for Zeke. You might not get that deal, but Harris and Pitts, you might be able to get Elliott. So yes, now that being said, I do understand that. And Goddard certainly is going to give you, at that point, Everett is simply just your backup. Dallas Goddard currently tight end 12, which puts him right at the borderline TE1 level. Offense in Philadelphia has not been stellar this year, and they haven't had their bye week yet. Goddard did miss, I think, 1 game due to protocols, but he has had decent production in the games played. I might feel comfortable enough in that situation to make that deal, Perry, and hope that does help you out. But yeah, so you've got to, anytime you're making these trades, you get something to get something here. And I think you've probably, you've come to grips with that, and I do see where you're going. I think that's very reasonable to go that way. Let's see here. Hope that out there, Perry, and hope whichever guys you go there, I hope they crush it for you. Let me see who else is up here. Again, I'm skipping around a little bit on the chats tonight. This is a little bit of an off-the-cuff show. So if I miss anybody's chat, just tell me. Just, hey, Joe, I missed you. Bill Romanowski, congratulations to Javen on being 8-0. Talking to Perry here. Pitts busted for me last week, but he's capable of big things on any given week. This is kind of just following up on all this information. Lee Shakur is back with us. Welcome back, Lee, one of our regulars. How do you feel about Saquon and Montgomery rest of season? I feel better about Montgomery, believe it or not, than I do about Saquon. I don't know why that is, because it seems like Saquon's injuries have been really fluky, but they're still injuries. Montgomery, I don't know what the outlook is on his way back in terms of where he's at. It sounds like he's a couple of weeks away. Obviously, the offense in Chicago is not quite as good, but that's not necessarily true. I don't know that the offense is not as good in Chicago as it is in New York. I don't know that either one of them are showing a lot on the offensive side of the ball right now. Chicago, I think, is going to continue to want to run the ball more, and New York, simply most of their players are injured. They're going to have no choice but to go to Saquon Barkley. I think that they're kind of both in the same boat at this point. Clearly, there's a lot of upside with Barkley, but Montgomery played great last year. He was off to a good year. If this is purely an instinct answer, not really based on data. If it was me, I would feel better about Montgomery for the rest of this season than Barkley. It could turn out that Barkley's fine. It probably will turn out that Barkley is fine. It's just right now, we know he was already coming back from injury, and then we lost him again. It's like, what do you make of that? Even if it was a fluke injury, it's still an injury, and those things happen. My instinct says that I feel better about Montgomery than Saquon the rest of the season. And that's not based on any data. That's not based on any matchups. I want to look at the matchups as we talk here. Let me see if I can find these guys, because they're obviously Saquon Barkley in terms of just, is there a red or green on his upcoming games? A lot of green. Oh, a lot of green. This week, 1, 2, 3, 4 games in green up through week 17. So that's good for the matchups. Obviously, he's not playing this week. He's got to play in order to take advantage of those matchups. And then if I can find Montgomery, who's clearly farther down, it's more difficult to find these guys when they haven't played in a while. I might have missed him. Scroll back up and see if I can find him. David Montgomery. There he is, currently running back 40 for the year. In terms of good amount of green on his schedule as well. Bye week next week, but 3 out of the next 4 games in the green. In terms of when I say that, I mean the matchups are good matchups, and nothing in the red on this platform. But I'm looking after that, so I think that both are in line. Let's put it this way: I don't expect either one of these guys to not play well when they get back. My concern is more which one of these guys is healthy on the way back, and I guess I just feel more comfortable with Montgomery's health at this point. Hope that helps you out there, Lee. Let me see if there are any follow-ups here from you. I don't see that. So to have you back, Lee. Thank you for the chat. Vansco, you help me out with the pronunciation here. It's Kamara. I'll try to stop saying Kamara then. I know I do it both ways, but it's like I've never quite figured out which way to go. Jets have the ball back here. I did not see what happened here in terms of the touchdown for the Colts, so let me go up on my other screen here and take a look, because I am interested in it for myself. As well as anybody else. It is Jonathan Taylor with a touchdown. Thank you. This is one of the first times that I've actually literally been on the live stream rooting for my players. But that's what we're all here for. We're all rooting for our players in fantasy. Indianapolis with the sack here. Good news for those of us that have the Indy D going here. At quarterback, it is some guy that I have no idea who it is. Jay Johnson. Who is Jay Johnson, guys? What's his first name? Jawan? He's the tight end for New Orleans. Is he playing for New York now all of a sudden? Oh, big trickeration from the Jets. This is ridiculous. Is this what it's going to be for the rest of this game? First down somehow for the Jets out of all that is Michael Carter on the – this is a pass with a lateral? Is this a lateral and then What is going on in this game? I need to have like a live. I believe this was a pass followed by a lateral back to Michael Carter on the other side of the field. If any of you aren't watching this game, it might be time to turn this game on because this might be a really interesting rest of the night. Let me see what's next up on chats here. Drunk Squidward is here. Is Myles Gaskin any good to keep as a backup running back? Because of the injury to Malcolm Brown, I think Myles Gaskin is back on the radar. It was not going well for Gaskin so far this year. And it did Miami, who in the past I always felt like wanted to kind of lean on just one guy, really wasn't doing that this year. But now that Malcolm Brown, unfortunately, is hurt for Miami, it's Gaskin and Salvon Ahmed are the two guys there. I do think that there is some potential for Gaskin. I don't think he's going to give you really high ceiling games. He did have that one really big game. But I think that because there are only two guys there now, I think there's at least a chance that he gives you a decent floor that you don't feel so hesitant about playing him in situations where you have to. This might be one of those weeks, especially for those of you who might have got a fumble here for the Jets. Indianapolis has the ball. It looks like Ty Johnson. Is that who fumbled the ball there for the Jets? And Indy has recovered. So for those of us that have the Colts D, a nice pickup here. Punch out. Yes, look at that. Very nice. Indy has the ball back with some options here. All right, back to the chats. Drunk Squidward. Let me see if there's a follow-up here from you. I see some other follow-ups, so let's go ahead and hit those up. Vansco says, as a resident Gaskin owner, I know, Vansco, how you feel. His value went up with the injuries in the Dolphins running back room, but he's still an RB3, probably, maybe. LOL. I do agree with that. That's kind of what I'm looking at in the same way. Like, he is a spot starter to fill in a slot. Perhaps if you were a guy who rosters Derrick Henry and you need to fill that slot, he's a guy that you can have in that role at this point. Hard one to project. I agree with that. Drunk Squidward says he does have games with the injuries. It's him and Mike Gesicki. I do agree with that. Vansco, the matchup. This is kind of what we're talking about. And I've got Gaskin going in at least one spot this week. I've got a waiver wire claim out for him in one league, trying to pick him up. He was dropped by another player. In one of my leagues, Antonio Gibson was dropped. Sometimes it baffles me that players that are dropped. I don't know how you can drop Antonio Gibson. I know he hasn't played as well as you want him to, but man, you must have somebody that's more droppable than Antonio Gibson. It's a 10-team league. At any rate, Vansco, his matchup versus Houston is pretty decent. I consider flexing him if he's the best option on your team. I'm right there with you, Vansco. I am in that same spot this week. The Gaskin owners are thick in here. Entered Bill Romanowski, Josh Johnson at quarterback for the Jets. Thank you, Bill, because I had no idea as I'm looking at my other screen who in the world Jay Johnson was. But nonetheless, it was Ty Johnson with the fumble for the Jets. Are there any other Johnsons available that the Jets can play tonight? I'm not sure if there are any. Keyshawn Johnson might be available for the Jets. If he is, just get him the damn ball. At any rate, back to the chats. Drunk Squidward. What happened to Mike White? It looks like you guys in the chat probably know better than I do, but it sounds like it was a hand injury. Lee Shakur is back. Lee, I always I'm pretty sure I'm saying your name wrong, Lee. Lee Shakur. Like, for some reason, when I say the two names together, I want to say Shakur. At any rate, Lee, you say, appreciate your advice. I really appreciate and enjoy your content. I thank you as well, Lee, as I always do. I always want to thank you guys right back for being on the chat because you guys are the guys that make the show. Without you guys, we're just talking fantasy football to you guys, and we'd rather be talking with you guys. So appreciate the chats, Lee, and glad to have you back with us, one of our regulars. Vansco, it's fun. You have to do play-by-play more often on Thursday if you got players going in the game. My rooting interest. And Bill Romanowski says, laughing out loud, Shanahan's coaching for the Jets. I don't think we can go to that level at this point. Vansco says, Drunk Squidward, he's hurt his wrist. Vansco up next, and he says, I've seen a few of the Miles Sanders drops in my league. I've seen some of that too. It's just interesting. Those guys, when they're dropped, are going to be picked up instantly. Wentz back to pass, drop off to Taylor inside. Going to pick up a good chunk here. Nice play for Jonathan Taylor. First down, Indianapolis, and ball comes loose. And I don't want to see a Jonathan Taylor fumble, but they are looking closely here. It was a nice game for Taylor, and it looks like two players tied up. They're going to give this one to Indy. They're not going to give this one to the Jets, I don't think. Indy retains. Glad to see that. A nice big dump-off pass for Wentz to Taylor. Good for about, what do we got here? 15 yards. it's also nice when I have on my other screen, I literally have a play-by-play screen here, so I can actually look over there if I have to. Miles Sanders drops. I don't know how I feel about Miles Sanders for the rest of the year. I think I feel more confident in Antonio Gibson than I do in Sanders right now, but that kind of remains to be seen. Indianapolis 1st and 10 at the New York Jets 26. Handoff to Taylor left side, and not much going there. Next chat up here is from B-Dubs. Welcome back, B-Dubs, to the stream. Should I trade Eli Mitchell and Clyde Edwards-Helaire for Saquon? My other running backs are Henderson, Patterson, Javonte Williams. Based on what your depth is here, I mean, you've got two. You're going to probably be comfortable playing Henderson and Patterson most weeks if you have to. I think Mitchell is going to be a good play for the rest of the year. I think CEH is going to be questionable. Because of that, you have the depth to make this move. And I think that Saquon Barkley provides you a nice ceiling. I don't know what his floor is going to be. Wentz back to pass, and it is an inside catch to, who's the catch to here? I'm cheating to see who on my other screen. Sometimes the plays come up quicker, and I don't know all the numbers. It looks like Jack Doyle with the catch there. No, it was Pittman with the catch for Indianapolis. Is this Pittman? I know Pittman's number 11, and I must not have just seen it. At any rate, the Colts driving, and Pittman also fumbles and recovered. Wow, this is an indoor game. I don't think it's raining, but so far a lot of fumbles going on in this game. At any rate, back to the chats. Do I like this deal? Yeah, I do, B-Dubs, because I think this is one of those deals that could win you your league. I think that Mitchell is going to be solid for you, but I think that Saquon, if he plays well, is going to be better than solid. And if there are injury concerns to Saquon, you still have Henderson and Patterson to fall back on. I am hesitant on Saquon in terms of his health, but I think that there's more upside to Saquon than there is to Eli Mitchell in the long run. So I think you can make this deal if you can get it. I think that it's, I'm assuming based on the running backs that you have, you're doing okay already at this point in your league, perhaps like a 4-3 type record or 4-4 type record, right in the middle. So this is one of those moves that could win you your league at the end of the year. And sometimes these decisions don't work out either. But you got to take that chance. Second and 7 for the Colts. Handoff to Taylor up the middle, close to a first down, just inside a 4-yard line for the Colts. It's going to be a third down and a short to go. Not third down and goal situation yet. At any rate, I do think Mitchell is going to be a decent player for the rest of the year. So if you aren't able to get this deal, I think Mitchell I would favor above CEH. I think if you are at all hesitant on Saquon here, then you could potentially package together CEH with somebody else like a wide receiver and make it a 2-for-1 that way. And that way you're keeping Mitchell to protect yourself in case Saquon is hurt. Kind of depends on what your situation is at wide receiver. If you're, like they always say, you trade your strength. So it looks like you have the depth at running back. And as I look away, it's because I'm also looking over to the game here and kind of, this is turning into a live reaction show. Another fumble for Jonathan Taylor. Jets are signaling that they have it here. Man, oh man, just what is going on with all the fumbles in this game? This was a third down play right around the 4-yard line. And again, 2 players tied up. This is going to go back to Indianapolis again. Even though the Jets actually come up the ball, but it's 4th and 1. This is likely going to be a field goal. I can't imagine they go for it here. Although it looks like the offense is staying on the field. So hold on here. Anyways, let's wrap up this chat here, and then I will get to the rest of these B-Dubs. I think you can make this deal. Do I think that you're taking a little bit of a chance slightly on Saquon being healthy, given the fact that Mitchell is still, I think, of the other 2 players, the player you favor, but I think this is a deal that could potentially win you your league if it worked out in your favor. So B-Dubs, I hope that you, whichever guys you go in there, I hope that they crush it and you say thanks. Your record is 6-2. So that's well done and off to a good start. And hopefully you can continue rolling through to those fantasy football playoffs. All right, we got a timeout on the field, so we will go through and hit up the rest of these chats here. What I think we'll do tonight is we'll stay on the stream either until halftime, or if you guys have more chats, we'll continue with the chats. But it will at least stay here until halftime for this game. We'll do a little bit of live reactions, and we'll talk some fantasy football with the chats here as we go through. Thank you, B-Dubs, for the chat. We got MK. Welcome back, MK, to the stream. You say, hey, TFF. Hey, MK, what's up? I'm going with McNichols at RB2. I have Jonathan Taylor, who's balling right now. I don't see, any good running back 2 options. In terms of off the waiver wire, probably not at this point. I'm curious, MK, what your other running backs are on your roster right now. If you want to hit me back in the chat, let me know who else you have to pick from in terms of who you currently have. 4th down play here for Indy. Bill Romanowski has predicted a sneak, and Bill Romanowski is right, and that is a first Colts. Even though the Jets are signaling that it's not, it is clearly a first down. They're going to have 1st and goal, and Jonathan Taylor. We've got some Taylor viewers right now. MK is rooting for Taylor, and Drunk Squidward is rooting against Taylor. Please fumble more, Jay Taylor. I'm going against him. So we got some differing opinions right here, but unfortunately, Drunk Squidward, this is most likely going to be a Jonathan Taylor touchdown on this play. I expect them to hand the ball off right here on 1st down for sure. And that here's Bill Romanowski made the prediction on Wentz to get that 1st down, but here's the 1st down play. This is going to be Taylor up the middle. Taylor, oh no, Wentz on a keeper and stopped at the 1. And it was not Taylor that was actually Nyheim Hines. So, wow, why do we have, this is frustrating. Please, on the goal line, Indy, run your guy Taylor. Why do we have Nyheim Hines on the goal line? We don't want to see that. I know you're very worried about us fantasy football players. Please hand the ball to Jonathan Taylor. Nonetheless, or if Vansco says, just throw it to Pittman every play. Oh, MK says Taylor injured. I did not see that, MK. Please fill me in on details. You say your luck, but I also say my luck. A little flip play inside by Wentz to, who is that? Jack Doyle with the touchdown. Little inside flip to the tight end, Jack Doyle, for a touchdown. So Wentz gets the touchdown there for the quarterback spot. And for those of you who are starting Jack Doyle, and that is nobody, most likely, you got no points there. So not good. Jonathan Taylor already at 16.90 fantasy points for this game. 81 yards rushing with a touchdown. Let's really hope that he's not hurt badly. MK, you say he took a shot to the knee. I will have to look for that potentially on the halftime highlights. I did not see that happen, but that is not good, especially given the fact that the Colts are now up 21-7. The game script is going to be in their favor, and this would have been a very nice game from Taylor. He's already been off to a nice start, but not good to hear. I'm not happy to hear about the injury there, MK. We will keep watching on that. Hit me up here, MK, and tell me about, back to your original chat. You say about you're going with McNichols at running back 2. I don't think that's an awful play. I doubt that there's going to be anybody out there on the waiver wire who's going to be better off for you than McNichols will be. I don't think McNichols is going to be the better of the 2 options in the Tennessee backfield going forward for the rest of the season. But I do think in this first week after the Derrick Henry injury, I do think he will be the better option because of the fact that Peterson is so new to the offense. And I don't think they're going to try to run him, the same way that they would run Derrick Henry right away, which means a split. Given the matchup with the Rams, I do think that means a game where they are forced to throw it a little bit more, which means you'll see some action out of the backfield for McNichols. So I think that's a fine start for you for this week. You just say you're looking at Boston Scott, I believe you're talking about, from Philadelphia. I think that that is a nice prospective ad. Is that the right term to use? Prospective ad for Boston Scott? Because it does seem like, again, I did the waiver wire video last week, and Kenneth Gainwell was the guy who was number 1. And I really, from the very start, I said, yes, I think Kenneth Gainwell is the guy to pick up, but I'm concerned that he doesn't end up being the guy that gets the work there. And last week, I don't know that we know for sure yet because it was such a lopsided game. But last year when Miles Sanders was hurt, Boston Scott came in and filled that role nicely. And so my thought is that Scott is not the guy that's necessarily on the radar in terms of who's being picked up, which is why Gainwell was the top pick last week. So therefore, that is a player who might be out there. I do think that's a worthwhile ad because they have a couple good matchups in a row. Philadelphia does. That being said, I don't know how long Miles Sanders is out for. I think it might only be a couple of week injuries for Sanders. I haven't seen. I can look really quick and see if I can find out an update here on Miles Sanders when they expect him back. I don't think they put him on IR. Let's see, where's Miles Sanders fall? Currently only RB 38. Should be higher than that. He is now on IR, placing him on injured reserve. He'll miss at least 3 games. That is a new note as far as I know. That was 6 days ago. So he's missed one already. Shortly after his elbow should be back. This platform that I'm looking at says Gainwell is preferred fantasy option in PPR formats. That is because of the fact that it's PPR. I don't necessarily think that Gainwell is the preferred option overall. I think that Boston Scott may have more opportunity in this offense than Gainwell does. You do say yes, Boston. I think if you can pick up this guy without losing anything significant off of your roster, if you have a cut you can make, then I would make this move off the waiver wire, even if you don't play him this week. It is a very good matchup this week for Philadelphia. If I put up the numbers here, fantasy points to the running back spot. We talked about this a little bit earlier. Philadelphia this week playing the Chargers at home, 4:05 on Sunday, and the LA Chargers currently allowing the 5th most fantasy points to the running back spot. So if you did decide to go that way, you're picking a guy with a very good matchup, and that's always important. As we look at the run of games coming up here in the next few weeks, let me see what they are. Looking at Miles Sanders on my other screen here. After this week, they play against Detroit. I'm sorry, Detroit was... Why doesn't this have this up? Oh, because that was last week. After this week, they played Denver. Denver currently sits at, let's see, 21st. Then they got New Orleans at 29th. And then the Giants at, where does the Giants fall? Where do the Giants fall? 11th. So the Denver and New Orleans matchups are not great. That's going to turn into a matchup play or a volume play, at that point in terms of whether or not you decide to stick with them or not. If Boston Scott is proven to be the guy that's getting the volume there, then he might overcome a bad matchup. If he's not, then we stay away and we go the other way. And you'll know more about McNichols. You'll have more data by that point. That's kind of what we do is we look for the data. But I do think that Boston Scott is a worthwhile pickup to keep on that roster, keep taking a look at to see where it goes from here. And not only do you have him to work for you in future weeks, but also make sure that one of your opponents doesn't get him and go ahead and use him to run you off a potential win that way. So I hope that helps you out, MK. A lot of information there, but hopefully all that stuff helps you out and you continue to move towards your fantasy football playoffs. All right, Vance goes back. Prepare for Van Jefferson to become a legit flex option from the year out. My semi-hot take of the season. I do kind of agree with you there, Vance, on Van Jefferson. Especially, you know that I have not been very high. A little dump off pass here to looks like this is Ty Johnson for the Jets. Gets the first down here. All right. Well, I would love to see more Michael Carter than Ty Johnson in the rest of this game, but that's the way it goes sometimes. At any rate, Vance, I can't do with you here. I do think that I don't know that the Deshaun Jackson move necessarily changes it all that much for Van Jefferson. I do think that he's kind of in line already. And that's simply the fact that I just don't think that Robert Woods has been used as much as you would like based on where you drafted him. Michael Carter with a run here at the 50-yard line. We got about just 3 minutes left in the first half. Again, we'll stay on the stream until halftime here unless we have a slew of chats that hit us up in the meantime. We probably won't stay on for the whole game. But anyway, getting back to your thought here, Vansco, I think that he's a guy to look for. Certainly the offense is shown that it is pretty stout this year. Matthew Stafford has been a nice upgrade there for your Rams. And I think that Van Jefferson is a player that will be able to be slotted in, especially in deeper leagues. Big play for the Jets here to number 81, Tyler Kroft. For a second there, I thought we had a Chris Herndon sighting, but no, that's only in past seasons when we kept hearing about how good Chris Herndon was going to be. And then never really produced fantasy-wise. But Tyler Kroft with a big gain there inside the 20 in the red zone for the Jets with coming up on the 2-minute warning shortly in the first half. So we'll see what happens there. Just inside the 20, handoff to Carter. No gain there at all. Thank you for the chat, Vansco. And the hot take, we will see what happens there. Bill Romanowski, can Dawson Knox keep up his great season? I think he can. I think that the situation with Buffalo is weird because I don't know that you will count on the tight end being as big of a role in the Buffalo offense for the entire season as it has been in some of the games already this year. I think that's where the Dawson Knox thing makes a difference. I certainly think that it looks like Tyler Kroft is now hurt for the Jets. I certainly think that Knox has the potential And if the Bills continue to want to go that way, I certainly think he's proven himself in their offense. To me, it's like Knox and Cole Beasley are the two guys here that are competing for the same volume. I think it's going to be one or the other. I don't think Emmanuel Sanders really impacts Knox or vice versa. I don't think either one of them impact Stephon Diggs. But for those of you that are either playing Cole Beasley as a flex or Dawson Knox as a tight end, I think that's where it falls between those two guys. If we continue to see Knox used at a relatively high rate for the Bills, then I think Cole Beasley's value goes down for the rest of the year. And if Knox does not have as much usage in the pass game for Buffalo, then I think that Cole Beasley remains a viable flex for the rest of the year. That's where I put those two. And we've seen some of those games this year where Cole Beasley has not seen the volume. Those have been games, I think, where Dawson Knox has. So that's where I see the difference with these players. I do think that Knox has the potential there. It'll remain to be seen how he comes back from his injury and whether or not the Bills just simply continue to choose to go that way. I think the Bills have a lot of matchups where game script might not favor big passing games. They might run the ball a little more this season, but I think Knox has proven himself to be an up-and-coming player, so I think there is some potential there. We'll just see what happens. But in terms of your pickup for your team there, Bill, I mean, I don't think how you can go wrong with the fact that you were able to pick up Knox. Currently sits at, what do we got here on my other screen? Tight end 5, I think. Might not be anymore because of the fact that he was hurt. Now he's down to 9th now, so missing some games has hurt his where he was, but he's averaging 13.6 for the year, which is currently 4th overall behind Kelsey, Andrews, and Waller. So, and I'm sorry, 5th, because also behind Rob Gronkowski if Gronkowski ever plays again. Hopefully he will play again. That's my thoughts on Knox there, Bill. Hope that helps you out there. You said, wow, that catch by, who was that, Croft? Yep. And then Wayne Corbett is favorite Jet all time. And you say appreciate it. And as always, I say thank you as well for being back with us tonight. Favorite Jet all time. Believe it or not, even though I am in Buffalo here, as a kid, I actually did like the Jets. And I don't know who my favorite would be of all time. I have to think about that. It's going back a little ways. I used to like Ken O'Brien as a quarterback when I was a kid. I don't know if I can come up with anybody other than that that I could think of that I would put in that high up of a level. Hard to say. Wayne Corbett played for quite some time. I'm not sure how many teams he played for the Jets there, or how many. Very interesting. I would say my least favorite Jet of all time would be Rex Ryan. Obviously, Rex Ryan coached here in Buffalo. That did not go well. That was pretty awful, actually. And to this day, and whenever he is on any of the shows where he is hosting or as an analyst, I just can't even stand listening to him. It's just putrid. Can't stand it. So, yeah, Rex Ryan, not my favorite. Slightly better coach than Adam Gase for the Jets, I would have to say. Probably most of the coaches for the Jets have been better. But at any rate, it is at least the Jets are looking to be somewhat competitive. You say, Bill, Brian Moorman, your substitute teacher in high school. Interesting. Well, when you talk about NFL legends like yourself, Bill Romanowski, it's not a surprise that you know all these people. I mean, we always talk about who the most famous viewer of our stream, and it's clearly NFL legend Bill Romanowski. And you agree with Rex Ryan. I definitely agree as well. Josh Johnson with a throw to the end zone on 3rd down for the Jets, and incomplete. Elijah Moore looks like may have made the catch, but may have been out of bounds. Just under 2 minutes left. It's going to be 4th and 8. And this should be a field goal attempt for the Jets. 21-7 for the Colts. It's going to be 21-10 going into halftime unless Indianapolis can put together a nice little drive here. So let's do this before we call it a night here. We will put up our original chat just to let you guys know. The live chat remains open for not too much longer. We'll stay on through halftime for the stream tonight. Again, a little Thursday special for you guys, getting you ready for week 9. Since we missed on Sunday, I thought it was kind of like the old makeup call in basketball where the foul is called on one team, but you missed the other one, so you got to have another foul called back the other way. So a little bit of jumping around and some good chat, but a little bit of live reactions from these games, and interesting to do these live reaction stuff. I've watched a few of these on YouTube, and you really got to have some good knowledge of these players. I can't say I know all the players, especially on a team like the Jets, who has not been as fantasy relevant, perhaps, as some of the other teams have been. Still looking for an update on Jonathan Taylor. Have not heard the update in terms of what happened on his injury there. Hopefully we'll find out about that at halftime, and hopefully it's not a serious injury. Certainly he was off to a good start in this game. As we go into the half right now, fantasy point-wise, we've got Carson Wentz, 7.84 fantasy points for the Colts. Taylor at 16.40 has a touchdown there, 76 yards of rushing. Nyheim Hines, touchdown on the ground, 37 yards rushing, 22 through the air. He's got 11.90 right now. Pittman, 4 targets, 3 catches, 3.40. Jack Doyle, 6.10. He's got 1 catch on 1 target for 1 yard and 1 touchdown. Welcome to the tight end spot. For the Jets, Michael Carter, 6 rushes for 28 yards, 4.60. Elijah Moore, rookie wide receiver, 2 catches on both of his 2 targets, 45 yards with a touchdown, 10.50 fantasy points. Keelan Cole with a couple of catches for 2.7. Tyler Kroft, a couple catches for 3.80. And Mike White, no longer in the game, 7.80 fantasy points. It is Josh Johnson now leading the way for the New York Jets. So, again, stick right around until halftime here. Bill Romanowski, you say, have a good one. See you all Sunday. Thank you for that, Bill. And Bill, you say, do another play-by-play next week. I will say this. I have considered trying out like a play-by-play on Sunday, actually. With the thought being here is like on a Thursday night game, everybody's watching the game. I mean, pretty much most people have the ability to watch this game, I would assume. But on Sunday, there are probably a lot of games going on where different fantasy players might not have Sunday ticket, and they might actually like to hear kind of like the live fantasy play-by-play from all the games. I've thought about it before. The problem is that a lot of the Sunday shows, depending on how much production goes into those shows, I've done, I mean, to peel back the curtain, several of those Sunday night shows have been all-nighters, especially if I was putting together a lot of, coach press conference video and stuff like that, and depending on the level of production that goes into graphics and all that. So I've considered thinking about what would work, but in the long run, really, like, these shows are really all about you guys, the viewers, and what you guys like the most. So I can put a lot of thought into, what I could think of doing and things like that, but it really comes down to what you guys enjoy watching and what you guys like to participate in terms of the chat and those things like that. So as a new channel, this is still kind of a trial and error thing where we try different things and we see what works and see what doesn't, and hopefully continue to grow and see where the channel goes. So you never know. Bill says you tune in for a Sunday. There are a lot of things that are potential. We'll see where any of those things take us. Just under 2 minutes left here. Colts with the ball. See if they put together a drive. It's going to be all Nyheim Hines all day at this point without Jonathan Taylor. So that is unfortunate for those of us who are playing Jonathan Taylor. If you happen to take a chance on starting Nyheim Hines this week, perhaps you needed to do that with someone like a Derrick Henry on your roster who's not there, and you needed to pick up a player, then you're in the line for a big game at this point, because the Colts are likely going to lead this game most of the way, and he's going to be pretty much their only option out of the backfield. I guess Marlon Mack could get some run, but especially it's going to be a lot of Nyheim Hines here. Let's see what happens on first down now. Another dump-off play to Hines. This is the way it's going to go. Thank you, Bill, for the chats. We got Pate here on the stream. Welcome, Pate. Should I trade Zeke for D-Hop and Hawkinson? My current tight end is Tyler Higbee or Dawson Knox. Well, I think the answer here, Pate, depends on your depth at the running back spot. I think that DeAndre Hopkins is, I would consider, still a buy low. I think that he's still on the way up for the rest of the season. My concern with Hopkins is the injuries that he's seen so far this year. I would love to see the injuries go away for Hopkins. I know I have a couple of spots. He's currently wide receiver 14, and it doesn't feel like he's done anything this year compared to what you expect from Hopkins. So is that a guy you could target? Yes. I mean, he's only had 2 games under double digits. And in a full PPR, I mean, he's played pretty well. I guess it's just what do they call it when it's a quiet wide receiver 14 for Hopkins right now. Wentz back to pass just inside of the 50. Another dump-off play to Hines, and that is not caught. That was another first down play there. This is going to be what the rest of this game looks like. Dump off to Hines, dump off to Hines. At any rate, still, again, jumping around. I think you can make this deal. I don't know if Dawson Knox returns anywhere close to the level that he's been, then I don't think it's essential that you move off of Knox to try to get a Hockenson. I do like Hockenson a whole lot. Knox is going to come down to he's going to be much more touchdown dependent than a Hockenson I would expect to be. The targets, he's only had one game more than 5 targets, Knox did, while he was healthy. Again, looking back and forth here to the game, Wentz is back to throw. He's going to scramble and keep it and inside and does not slide. Man, you got to slide here, quarterbacks. Listen to me like I know. As someone who's playing fantasy football, telling your quarterback to slide sounds pretty dumb. But certainly you would hope to see these guys stay in the game. Third down play here, 3rd and 1 now for Wentz. Inside handoff to Hines. Hines is going to break this one a little bit. First down for sure. Just the 25-yard line. 2 timeouts left for Indianapolis. 35 seconds. They need to take one here. They are not taking one yet. I'm not sure why. They do come up to the line really quickly. Again, this has turned into a little bit of a chat/live reaction show. Wentz back to pass, and the pass caught out of bounds there, and that looks like it's Zach Pascal with the catch. Again, Dawson Knox, touchdowns, 5 touchdowns in his 6 games that he played. Only 2 games under double digits. But again, touchdown pendant for Knox. I don't think that Hockenson will be that. Hockenson currently is the 10-3. Way more targets for Hockenson along the way. I think the value is certainly there for Hockenson if you were going to go out there and pick him up. At the same time, I don't think that it is the worst situation to have a Dawson Knox in your lineup. I don't know that it's a huge step up, although, I mean, if healthy, I think it is a step up. Again, I'm looking into my other screen to see what's going on. Wentz, a little inside pass play to Pascal around the 10, 15 seconds to go. That's going to be good for a first down. And it looks like Colts have called timeout here with 15 seconds to go. Should get a couple of pops at the end zone here for Indianapolis. Again, this question comes down to what is your depth at the running back spot. If you are good at the running back spot to where you can get away from Zeke and still be good, then I do think you can make this move. And if you're perhaps looking to upgrade that wide receiver spot for your team, then Hopkins is a nice upgrade in the fact that I don't think Hopkins has really shown his full potential this year. I think we've seen some decent games. We would expect to see at the very least, a continued nice floor with some nice ceiling games for Hopkins as well. I certainly think that's a player I would value in terms of going out there to target, in terms of picking up in a trade. So again, without knowing the other players that are involved here, I will assume that you're looking to add on to your wide receiver core, that you feel like you need help there. If that's the case, then Hopkins is going to give you your help. And I will assume that you have depth at the running back spot that you can send away a Zeke and still be okay. If that's the case, then I do think Hopkins is at least even for the best player in this deal. Pass play, and Pittman in the end zone, had it in his hands, but did not complete the catch. Very close to a Pittman touchdown there. Should have been, could have been, but was not. Back to the chat. Yes, I think you can make this deal. I like the pickup for Hopkins, and the fact that you're also adding Hockenson there to add a consistent, steady tight end player, I think gives you enough value to make it worthwhile to trade away Zeke, assuming they do have that depth there. So I would say yes, Pate. Hope that helps you out there, that you can make this deal if you can get it. And let us know how this works out for you. And again, our second person on the stream tonight who had a sneaker as their image, along with Lee Shakur. His is facing the other direction. So artistically, just a little bit different. But nonetheless, some good image work by you guys. Hope that helps you out there, Pate. Glad to have you on the stream. Looks like you might be a new viewer. If you are, glad to have you with us. Bill Romanowski says that should be a touchdown. I was thinking the same thing. It looked like he had it for a couple of steps. We'll see if they would have to challenge. No, it's under 2 minutes, so they would not be able to challenge this. At any rate, I will say this for those of you like Pate and others who might have been new viewers tonight. We welcome you to the channel. Glad to have you guys with us. If you have not done so already and you enjoy our content, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you get those notifications for whenever we have new content. And for all of you guys, new viewers and regulars, if you do enjoy our content, feel free to drop us a like. The likes and the subscribes really do help out the channel a ton. We are still a growing channel. And we do appreciate all of you that have been with us along the way. And as well, those of you that are new, we look forward to seeing all of you on future streams as well. A couple more chats here. JC Vader, you say hello. Say hello, JC Vader. You say, who are you going with between Tua and Taysom Hill? I'm actually literally going with Tua this week. I had to pick him up in one of the leagues, I think in one spot. I don't like Taysom Hill. I just don't think that we know enough yet about Taysom Hill's health. I haven't looked at a report. I will look at a report right now as we're talking to see what they're specifically saying about Hill's prospect for playing again. But I do think that New Orleans is going to be plenty comfortable with Trevor Siemian in this situation without Jameis Winston. Taking a look at the report here for Taysom Hill, and at the same time taking a look at the review of play to see if Pittman does get this touchdown. Here's the report. Taysom Hill was upgraded to full practice on Thursday. The report here says the Saints have been very cagey about whether Hill or Trevor Siemian will start in the pressers this week, but it certainly seems to be trending in the right direction for Hill to be an impact runner on Sunday against the Falcons. Interesting. Matchup-wise, if you consider them both healthy, and that's the reason why I put the matchups on the left side of the screen there, let's take a look at the numbers. Let me get back to my other screen here. Here we go. All right, New Orleans, the matchup against Atlanta. Atlanta, number 5 most fantasy points allowed in the quarterback spot. They did not rule that a touchdown, so Indianapolis will kick the field goal here and make it a 27-13 game if it's good, and it is good. Michael Badgley, the new kicker there for Indy, right? Where's my mind? At any rate, Indy does go into the halftime with a 14. I'm sorry, I gave the points to the wrong side. It's 30 to, I don't know, somebody scored. It's 28 to 2 Badgley. Back to the matchups. Back to your chat here, JC. Tua for the Miami Dolphins against Houston. Houston currently allowing the 6th most fantasy points to the quarterback spot. I feel more comfortable not knowing how New Orleans is going to use Taysom Hill or if they're going to roll with Trevor Siemian. I feel more comfortable going with Tua. Now, the answer to this question, it might be a completely different answer next week when we know more. But right now, a lot of times when there are question marks, I feel like staying away from those question marks can sometimes be best for you. I am not super high on Tua this year. I really haven't been. But in this situation, sometimes you have to start certain guys. Sometimes you have to stream a quarterback. The matchup is a good one against Houston. I don't know that I don't know that Miami's going to run away with this game, so I doubt it's going to be simply a run game. I think this is actually potentially could be a kind of an evenly played game between these two teams. So I will roll with Tua in this situation until I know more about what Taysom Hill's role is going to be. Now, if Taysom Hill ends up being the starter this week and moving forward, you're going to roll with Taysom, sure. Very viable. I just think that the question mark right now is enough to make you stray away from Hill and stick with Tua because at least you know what you're getting. Even if you don't like what you get to, it is a good matchup, and you might just need to make that play to get you through one of those weeks. Hope that helps you out there, JC, and hope whichever guy you go with there, I hope they do crush it for you. We got Alexander Garcia Osuna. Welcome back. Hope you've been well. Going to do double threat with Julio and A.J. Brown this week. Well, without Derrick Henry, there's certainly, if there's any week where Julio Jones is going to have a nice week for the Titans, this should be it. I don't know. I hope to see it. I still have Julio Jones hanging on to him in a couple of leagues. Excuse me. Leagues. So yeah, I'd like to see it also. I think you're in line for a very nice A.J. Brown game this week. I would be shocked if that wasn't the case. It's going to be very interesting to see how that offense shakes out without Derrick Henry. Perhaps things turn around a little bit for Ryan Tannehill in terms of his fantasy production. So you don't have any choice but to go with A.J. Brown and adding in Julio there. You're hoping for a high-scoring game. Tennessee against the Rams. Here are your matchups. The LA Rams currently allowing the 18th most fantasy points to the wide receiver spot there on the left side of your screen. So it's not an awesome matchup. It's not the worst matchup. Volume-wise, you would expect the volume to be there for the pass catchers. That includes Jeremy McNichols. I don't know how much Peterson gets worked into the offense this week, given the fact that he's just arrived there. My guess is that he does not get as much work this week as he does in future weeks. So you would think that turns into a passing game. Hopefully that works out for you, Alexander. Hope you've been well. Also, glad to have you back on the stream and go out and get that W this week with your Tennessee Titans. All right, it is halftime in this game here on the Thursday night game. A 28-10 lead. Colts over the Jets. We've got Josh Johnson in at quarterback for the Jets. No more Mike White. We've got Jonathan Taylor out with injury, unfortunately. So a couple of consequential, especially Jonathan Taylor injuries so far in this game. We have had a good night of chat for you all. We're going to call it right here on the stream. Before we go ahead and watch the rest of these games, let's go ahead and put up just a little bit of information for you before we do call it a night here. Don't forget about our 6 picks game. This is the thumbnail that we had from the last week's 6 picks game for week 8. This is a season-long game that we're playing here. There's no cost or anything like that. It's basically for you guys, the viewers, to play along and show off your fantasy football skills. Just making picks to the 6 matchups on that video itself. You make those picks on that video, and we keep track. Here are the standings as they were before week 8. We haven't updated them yet going into week 9, but it was James Kazi with the lead, keeping track by percentage, understanding that different players will play a different amount of weeks. But this is basically your opportunity to play along and just show off your fantasy football skills. So, again, that was our thumbnail from last week. Keep an eye out for the 6 picks video on our channel. Go ahead and get in there and get your name on that leaderboard. Alexander Garcia Osuna says, I also have Debo Henderson Jr. I picked up Cook off waivers for tight end because of Fant and the protocols. I think that Debo has been really good this year. I like Darrell Henderson a whole lot. Jared Cook is a good matchup. I think that even he is a viable start over some other players this week at tight end, regardless of what's starting him every week. The matchups there on the left side of your screen at Philadelphia. Philadelphia currently allowing the 5th most fantasy points to the tight end spot. So a sneaky play at tight end this week is Jared Cook. Not probably somebody that you've been playing every week, but I think there is some potential there based on the matchups as well. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that there. Certainly Debo Samuel has been very good for you all year. You're gonna line up with Darrell Henderson as well in that same Tennessee. So you're really rooting for a high scoring game here, Alexander, between Tennessee and the Rams, because you've got your running back on the Rams side. Quite simply, an LA Rams 21-7 halftime lead is what you hear, with Darrell Henderson getting 2 of those touchdowns in the first half. Meaning that Henderson runs the ball a whole lot in the second half, and Tennessee has to throw the ball to play catch-up. That is your game script that will win you your fantasy league matchup this week. So I'm right there with you, Alexander, because I have Darrell Henderson in a couple of spots, and I have A.J. Brown in a couple of spots. So if that is what happens, we will both be happy fantasy football players as week 9 rolls on. And hopefully Noah Fant is able to get back with no issues, and certainly we hope the best for all of those situations. Including all those others who are impacted along the way from the protocols and the this terrible pandemic that everybody is still dealing with that we all wish wasn't happening. So hopefully all the best for all of those players. We don't want to see anybody have to deal with those issues. Fantasy football is just a game. So obviously there are real situations that happen that are outside of the game itself. But we move on to week 9. Certainly we're halfway through the first game of the night. And we'll see what happens as we move forward. Again, check out the 6 picks game. We appreciate all of you guys. We're going to night for the night as I'm looking through my all of my information on the other side of my screen here. Week 9, a lot of good matchups to come. Only a few weeks. I think we got 4 teams on bye this week. A lot of good games looking forward to. Cincinnati, Cleveland on Sunday. Should be a good one there. Minnesota, Baltimore, I think some fantasy impact in that game as well. We will see what happens down the line. Of course, we wind up the weekend with a Monday night game between Chicago and Pittsburgh. So we will expect to see a 7-5 final score in that, something like that. Chicago, not the highest scoring games. Neither has been Pittsburgh this year. I still think there is some potential there fantasy-wise to see some nice production there on both sides of things. At any rate, this was a special Thursday pregame show. We did some chats. We did some live play-by-play reactions of the game. An interesting night nonetheless, but we move on. Week 9 is underway, and we wish all of you guys all the best in working towards another W in your fantasy football leagues. That will do it for tonight, and we will leave you by saying, as always, good luck in fantasy. We'll see you next time.